Auto Parts.
South Jersey's home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Well, something to think about, for sure.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. Mike is still on vacation. Of course, he'll be back on Monday. But I got you the next 4 hours. By the way, how about that rain today? That was nuts. Everyone's safe out there on the roads. I saw a bumper car accident, I'm calling it, on my way in this morning. Woo! That was a little nutty. A lot to get to. A lot of stories going on. I mean, there wasn't a huge trade that happened 5 minutes before I turn on this microphone, so that's a plus. But Sixers win last night. Everyone plays pretty well for the most part. We'll get into some thoughts on the Sixers game last night. Sweet 16 starts tonight. You hear all the action right here starting at 7 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN FM. Of course, the NFL offseason is still bumping along. We'll get into the news about the vax mandate being lifted in New York, plus a second grand jury is now mulling charges against Desean Watson in a different county. Why it's not double jeopardy. So we'll get to all that and more coming up here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM. And of course, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app is there for you, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. As always, you can join the conversation. You could DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, or you could text in at 609-403-0973. Here's the lineup coming up a little bit later. Open hour this hour. So if you have any thoughts and comments on the Sixers, the NCAA tournament, the NFL, and more, you could join the conversation this hour. Julian Edlow from DraftKings will join us coming up at 3:25 today. Andrew the Checo for today's football at 4, getting more into NFL draft prospects. He is over at the Penn State Pro Day today. Keith Smith, NBA insider for Spot Track, joins us at 4:40 p.m. Talk Sixers and NBA. And Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad will join us coming up at 5:25 today to get into the latest with the Phillies, who little news with the Phillies we have to get to. So we got a lot of things to cover here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Before I get to the Sixers stuff, I just want to kind of give you guys an encapsulation of the two stories that have hit the waiver wire in the last hour. So officially, the New York vax mandate has been lifted, allowing Yankees, Mets players, as well as Kyrie Irving play in home games. So no more deciphering the schedule for home and away for the Nets. The only place that Kyrie can't play now is Toronto. And as we know, Canada's situation is being handled completely different than it is in this country. So, but don't get it twisted. This was not about Kyrie. The mayor of New York had a press conference at Citi Field to make this announcement. I and you are under no delusions. This has everything to do with money and baseball. New York City is one of the few cities in the country where baseball is still king. Listen, in Philadelphia, it's Eagles country. The Phillies, if they're winning, the fans will show up. No matter what, for the Eagles, people are there. Eagle fans are number one, and Sixer fans right now are number two in Philadelphia. Phillies, Flyers, they alternate people's interests at this point. You know, Flyers are bad right now as people are interested in the Phillies. Next season, when September, October comes around, the Phillies aren't in the playoffs, people will turn their attention to the Flyers. And, of course, the Eagles will dominate the conversation in the fall. It's just the way it is. Go around the country. There's only a handful of cities in this country where baseball actually has the greatest weight of power. It's New York City, it's St. Louis, it's Chicago, and frankly, that's pretty much it. Most cities in this country, football or basketball is king. In LA, the Lakers own the town. Dodgers are second. You go to a place, for example, like Denver. Hockey and basketball are big out there. Just look at the viewership numbers, look at the attendance numbers. Most of the country, baseball is not big business. It's part of the business of the city, sports-wise, except in New York. The New York Yankees are the number one team. People in New York talk Yankee baseball 365, 24/7. You go out for something to eat, you go out for a drink, you meet somebody on the subway in New York, you could talk Yankees 365, 24/7. They are more popular than any other team in the city. And Mets are really not far behind. You could argue that in certain pockets of New York City and the region up there, that the Mets and the Yankees are top 5 sports topics in the city easily. And after the Yankees, the Nets are way more, the Nets are not popular either. The Knicks. It's the Yankees and the Knicks. And then you got your Giants and Jets fans. That's your top 4. And the Mets are probably 5th, depending on how good or bad the Giants and Jets are from year to year compared to the Mets. Most of New York City and beyond doesn't care about the Brooklyn Nets. There was never going to be a moment where the mayor of New York City was going to do anything for Kyrie Irving or the Nets. But baseball opening day is around the corner. Yankees and Mets players, there were guys who would not be able to play at home, but their opponents could come to New York and play if they were unvaccinated. This whole rule in New York has always been an insult to everyone's intelligence. It's the stupidest thing in the world. I don't care what your position is on the vaccine, on COVID, whatever your politics are. I don't really care. I think anyone with a rational mind can agree that you have a situation where if you're telling people who work in the city, if you're not vaccinated, you can't perform or play and do your job, but people who are coming in from out of the city can. I don't care what the reason or excuse was. It was always stupid. It was always ridiculous. It was always a mess. So lifting this mandate in time for baseball season wasn't about principle. It wasn't about COVID. It was removing a stupid rule from the equation because baseball's coming. Because Yankees and Mets baseball are big business in New York because they're more popular than almost anything else in the city. You're going to tell the Steinbrenners that their guys can't play because of a mandate? That ain't happening. And the only reason the press conference was held at Citi Field was so Mayor Adams can look like he's not being favorable toward the Yankees. I don't care what the real reason they say it is. We all know deep down that this was about the Yankees. The Yankees are king of New York, and the mayor of New York bowed and kissed the ring. Whatever your position is on Kyrie, the reality is that Kyrie had been doing this for principle. Kyrie has a documented history of not trusting modern medicine. He had bad situations that happened to him with his knee surgery, with some of the prescriptions that he was given for painkillers. He has become very apprehensive to do a lot of things that mainstream America does in terms of medicine and maintenance and healthcare. And honestly, I can't blame him because he has trust issues with a lot of things. There's a lot of people in this country who are like Kyrie who just, they don't trust, the term, the government, big pharma, the big man, the man upstairs. They don't trust these people. So Kyrie, whether you like him or not, At least Kyrie was doing it for principle. The city of New York was about politics and money. And now the Yankees told them, you got to lift your mandate or else. The mayor of New York did the bidding of the Yankees and the Mets. So that's really what's going on up in New York. Again, I don't care what your position or your politics are. We all know the truth. The truth is that the mayor of New York wants to act like he's a tough guy because he has a law and order background. But the reality is that as soon as Yankee money and Yankee power got involved, he bowed the knee. And now Kyrie gets to play. And that means for the Nets, they have a better chance of either moving up the standings or getting out of that play-in tournament. Now, the problem is they lost last night, and it was on the road. They should have beat Memphis. There was no John Morant on the floor. They couldn't win the game. Now, they're 3 games behind. They're 2.5 games behind the Raptors for the 7th spot. They got to get out of that spot, and now they have an opportunity to do so. Ideally, the Nets would like to either get the 7 or the 6 seed. So they're 2.5 games behind the Raptors. They're 3 games behind the Cavs. Because, as I said, Kyrie can't play in Toronto. Because Canada's rules are another animal altogether. But here's the upcoming schedule for the Nets. Saturday, they go to Miami to play the Heat. And depending on the mentality of the Heat right now, either they're going to fold or they're going to come out firing against them. Then the Nets come back home for 3 straight home games. Charlotte, Detroit, Milwaukee. Hit the road again against Atlanta. Come back home against Houston. Hit the road in New York at the Knicks. You can play there, Kyrie. Then home against Cleveland, home against Indiana. So Kyrie should be available for the rest of these games, the rest of this slate. And frankly, if the Nets play at the level the Nets can play, I'm assuming, and again, last night, it's hard to tell with the NBA, with all these anomalies and all this stuff like that. I'm assuming that if all things are equal, I'm assuming that the Nets win 6 out of the next 10 games. Now, where do the Sixers fall in all this? If you're the Sixers, as long as the Nets get up to the 6th seed, you'll probably avoid them in the first round. Because right now, the Sixers and Milwaukee Bucks are tied at 1.5 games behind the Miami Heat after their epic collapse last night in Miami, where they were fighting amongst each other. And frankly, I don't know how many of you guys actually saw the video of Jimmy Butler, Eric Spoelstra, and Udonis Haslem last night. But I got to think that there has to be something going on in Miami for those 3 guys to be fighting. Either this is going to galvanize that team or they're going to choke down the stretch. Because Miami's schedule doesn't get either. I told you they're playing the Nets. They only have a 1.5 game hold on the top of the Eastern Conference. Here's their schedule. Friday against the Knicks, Saturday against the Nets, back-to-back at home. That's at least tolerable. It's a home situation. Then you come back Monday with an easy game against the Kings. Then you got a 3-day road trip at Boston, at Chicago, at Toronto, and Chicago and Toronto are back-to-back. Then they come back home for 2 games that are winnable, Charlotte and Atlanta, and then they go on the road for Orlando, which most people believe most teams are going to sit their guys for the final game of the year. So if you're a Sixers fan, if you're a Bucks fan, if you're a Nets fan, if you're a Celtics fan, you're looking at the Heat and saying they could stumble down the stretch here. This schedule, as it plays out, could easily have 5 losses on it. The Nets, Boston, Chicago, Toronto, and don't rule out Charlotte. Charlotte's fighting for something too. Charlotte is trying to stay in that play-in tournament right now. The Knicks have a mathematical chance to get in, but Charlotte wants to stay in there too. So Miami has got the Sixers and the Bucks and the Celtics all on their heels. But on the flip side, Chicago and Cleveland have the Nets on their heels and Toronto on their heels. So if you're the Nets, there's going to be a lot of standings watch. If you're the Sixers, there's going to be a lot of standings watch. Personally, for the Sixers, the team I think that would be best case scenario for them to play in the first round, depending on, again, where they're sitting in the standings. Because right now they're in second place. They could easily change because they have the same record as Milwaukee right now. If the Sixers have X number of wins and Milwaukee has X number of wins, those two spots can swap. But right now, the Sixers do hold the tiebreaker over Milwaukee and Boston, although all three are 1.5 games back. If you're the Sixers and you had to play a team like Charlotte or Atlanta or Cleveland in the first round, you're giving that a thumbs up because, one, it's in your house, and two, those are all teams that really don't have an answer for your three biggest weapons. Atlanta is not the same Atlanta team you lost in the postseason last year. Charlotte's talented, but they don't play a ton of defense. Cleveland, you've already beaten them up this year. So if the Sixers play any of those teams, it's thumbs up. The two teams I'm a little concerned about are Toronto and Brooklyn. Toronto's going to give somebody a war in the first round. They may not win that series, but they play really good defense. They got tons of length and athleticism. Siakam's a matchup problem for the Sixers. And then the Nets have KD and Kyrie. And when Kyrie's motivated, the Nets are hard to beat. Now, we don't know what's going on with this Ben Simmons thing. I mean, this situation is ridiculous. He got an epidural in his back. Apparently, he's got a bulging disc in his between one of the, I think it's what did they say, the L4 in his spine. It's the most ridiculous thing with him. I mean, what is Ben Simmons doing that he has a bulging disc in his back? Listen, I'm not a pro athlete. No one's going to mix me up with a basketball player. I'm too short. But let me tell you something. I dislocated the L3 in my spine about 7 years ago. It took me about, I want to say 4 months to be back to normal. And at times I still had to wear a back brace even after I was mostly recovered when I was sleeping. I don't have modern medicine like Ben Simmons has available to him. And the reason why I dislocated the L3 in my spine was because I slipped and fell. So what's Ben Simmons doing that his back is this jacked up? Such a strange, bizarre situation. And I was listening to the guys on TV last night. I have to agree with guys like Stephen A. Smith and Jalen Rose. I think they're 100% right. The Nets can't win the East without Ben Simmons. Because Ben Simmons is the guy to play defense against the likes of Giannis. The guys like Jimmy Butler and so on and so forth. Tatum with Boston. DeRozan with the Bulls. No offense to Kyrie and Durant. But they need a guy who's not going to allow them to have to overextend themselves. Josh Hennig here on the Sports Bash. Filling it for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We'll get to the Desean Watson news in just a bit because it's starting to look like the Sixers, not the Sixers, the Eagles, are missing a lot of problems. Yeah, I told you guys yesterday, I was glad the Eagles weren't the Dolphins and giving up 5 draft picks to get a wide receiver and then making him the number 1 paid receiver in league history, because that would have just wrecked your salary cap. It would have mortgaged your entire future. And for what? And now it looks like with the Desean Watson news, it's looking like Cleveland got more problems maybe than they bargained for. Let's get to some of your guys' thoughts and comments over on the text board at 609-403-0973. Cole from LBI says, I'm a Mets fan. I'm not arguing the Yankees aren't the king of New York. They definitely are. But the press conference at Citi Field, because Cohen virtually paid the mayor to change the rule, Cohen already donated $1.5 million to him last summer. Having a press conference at Citi Field as Cohen trying to take over being number one in the city, but that would never happen. That's Cole from LBI. Couple things, Cole. First of all, I didn't know about Cohen being that fat of a campaign contributor to Adams. I wish somebody else would have reported that. I'm sure I could probably look that up and verify it. I mean, that's a big part of this. I mean, I've been watching and reading articles for the last, 36 hours or 24 hours about this story. I didn't know. See, that's the kind of information that would have helped in this conversation. Yeah, here it is. Here's the story from Bloomberg. Bloomberg last summer. Mets owner Steve Cohen gives $1.5 million to Eric Adams' New York City bid. Late boost for Adams comes from Wall Street Money ahead of primary, is another headline in the Wall Street Journal. Well, still. Well, now we know why the press conference is at Citi Field. It kind of makes you wonder, what else does $1.5 million get you? I don't know if everyone's ever seen, what was this show? The Blacklist. I think it was season 5 when Reddington pours all that money into that one president's campaign. And he says, don't worry, I'll come ask you for a favor later. And then he pulls that string to get his daughter cleared from the charges of murdering the attorney general. It almost feels like this, I could just see Cohen picking up the phone and just saying, hey, Mayor, remember that $1.5 million I gave you that got you elected? It's time to pay the piper, buddy. Get my players on the field or else. It's a good pull by Cole from LBI. Yeah, why didn't anybody else bring it up? That is the real story. The fact that the mayor of New York is in the pocket of the Mets owner. Good job by Cole from LBI. Mike on the text board says, Josh, I don't know what this guy is saying. Mike wants me to send a message to Mike Gill about something. Well, Mike, I'm sorry you don't like what I'm talking about. Mike Gill can see the text on the text board if he really wants to, listener. So I don't need to forward him a message. Thanks for listening, though, and wasting your time texting in a message that wasn't fully legible. I regret even trying to read that on the air. That was a bad job by me. Another text comes in, says 609-403-0973, says, I don't think we can beat the Nets, and now the mask mandate has made them even better. The bulging disc issue is to try to gain money they lost, a part of his lawsuit with the Sixers, in my opinion. Here's the problem. If the bulging disc was an issue, he should have brought it up before he got traded. You don't bring it up after you got traded. See, here's the problem with Ben Simmons' lawsuit. And I heard somebody else explain this on Outside the Lines over the weekend. Because Outside the Lines usually airs live Saturday morning, but it replays Sunday morning with Jeremy Schaff. They were explaining that Ben Simmons' lawsuit doesn't have merit because Ben is trying to claim money that he never established previously he should have. The Sixers told him, come to the facility workout, see our doctors, see our psychiatrists, come to practice, and he pressed against them the whole time. Typically, if you have a lawsuit against your boss, you have to document things as you go along. And the Sixers were under direct attack by Rich Paul through the media the entire time. That was the documentation you need for the lawsuit. You can go to a civil court and say, here's all the news stories about Ben Simmons. But instead, half the news stories make Ben look bad. So I don't think this is actually going to help his lawsuit. I think it's just going to be another excuse for if the Nets don't win a championship or if Ben Simmons can't do X, Y, Z, he has an excuse in his pocket to be like, oh, by the way, the bulging disc is a problem. Did you see Joel Embiid last night? Joel Embiid looked like he hurt his back again, kept playing. What's Ben Simmons' excuse? That's the thing. Ben Simmons doesn't have an excuse. But I think you bring up an interesting point, actually. Says, I don't think we could beat the Nets with the max mandate now making them even better. Here's the thing. I think the Sixers in a 7-game series, in theory, would go blow for blow with the Nets. The problem is that for the Sixers, they got to figure out how to be more consistent. Sunday, they blow a 16-point lead to the Raptors. Monday, they beat the Heat without Embiid and Harden. Last night, they go out there and they win, but it wasn't the most convincing win. Felt a little hollow. I mean, Harden started out the game horrible from the field. Somehow he ended up with more than 20 points. It was like, how did that even happen? But, it's one of those deals where I think the Sixers got to find their groove. They got to find their way in order to be more consistent. All right, we'll get more of your texts on the other side. Keep them coming in, 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank and CLC. I'm actually going to read some of your texts during the break because, like I said, that was a bad job by me trying to read that one unlegible text on the air. Sports Bash being brought to you by AC Airport. Plan your spring break getaway now. Create memories that last a lifetime. Start with nonstop flights from Atlantic City to Cancun, San Juan, and Miami. Book your low-cost flight today at spirit.com. And don't forget, tonight, Sweet 16 continues. I've been giving you some winners on the air for the tournament. My bracket's busted, but we're still giving you winners on the air, which is always a plus. Really, that's really what the big deal is. Julian Ello will join us from DraftKings coming up at 3:25. Dig deeper into the tournament. NBA Sixers talk with Keith Smith from Spot Track joining us at 4:40. Inside the Birds.com's Andrew DeCecco will join football at 4 p.m. And Phillies talk. Odubel Herrera looks like he's not going to be ready to start the season. What does that mean for the Phillies, whose whole plan supposedly was having this platoon between Herrera and Vierling? Could the platoon now be Adam Hazley and Matt Vierling? Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad will join us at 5:25. And as I said, more of your texts on the other side. Open hour for you guys this hour. The text board is 609-403-0973. You can also DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on a Thursday.
Sports.
The first touchdown of DeVonta Smith's NFL career.
Scores.
The catch, the shot, the three, swing.
Updates.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
Hear about it as it happens and when it happens on 97.3 ESPN.
The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and get you back on the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
It's time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. The plot thickens in college basketball as we get down to 8 teams by Friday night, and then by the end of the weekend, we'll be left with 4. In the NBA, the Nets have the second best odds to win it all, and the Heat are not far behind. These two teams face each other in Miami on Saturday in a possible playoff preview. And on Sunday, championship favorites, the Phoenix Suns, host the 76ers. Be sure to check the Caesars Sportsbook app for all the latest odds, boosts, and promos. Caesars Sportsbook, your app is ready. Emperor, download it.
Hey people, it's Kenny Mayne here reporting live from a Caesars Sportsbook commercial. Caesar hath decreed that when you bet your first $50, you get a $250 Uber Eats gift card. Quite a deal for your first bet. Use code RADIOEAT at sign-up.
Must be 21 and physically present in New Jersey. New customers with eligible promo code only. Real money wages only. That have minimum amounts of -200. $250 gift card redemption code. Accepts redeemed gift card will be sent via email within 72 hours. Google gift card terms and conditions apply. See caesar.com/promo for full terms. Void or prohibited. Gambling problem? If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY 467-369.
When was the last time everyone agreed on what's for dinner? You want ramen, they want pizza. Thankfully, there's something for everyone on the DoorDash app. For a limited time, get 50% off and 0 delivery fees on your first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code ORDERNOW50. That's 50% off up to a $12 value and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you enter promo code ORDERNOW50. That's promo code ORDERNOW50. Subject to change, terms apply. Get more from your neighborhood.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches, weakness, or discomfort in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 selling nerve care company. Nervive contains alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, and B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live your life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com.
Do you want the best for your car? Then fill up with Premium at Circle K. Circle K Premium is our best fuel with double the cleaning detergent, protecting your engine from corrosion and damage so it can work at its best. And that, my friend, increases your mileage for more cha-ching in your pocket. Plus, when you fill up with Premium at Circle K, you can save up to 20 cents per gallon. Offer valid Thursdays or Fridays at participating stores. For details, visit CircleK.com. Circle K. How convenient.
Ever heard the grass is always greener on the other side? If you're in a dead-end job, you want greener grass. Well, My Computer Career can help. In months, not years, they can give you a new life as an IT pro. You learn from home by taking classes live online. Financial aid is available for those who qualify. And My Computer Career offers lifetime career services, which helps you find jobs with companies begging for IT pros. Go to mycomputercareer.edu today and take the free career evaluation. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital. Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
Buzzer beaters and bracketologists, leprechauns and green beer. One more nor'easter snowstorm. You know they're going to happen in March. You just don't know when.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. Every day, all month at Matt Blatt Nissan. New 2022 Titan trucks. $5,000 off. Plus, AJ, the trade man, will get you more for your trade. So you can drive a brand new Nissan with 0 down and pay 0% interest on every new Nissan in stock. Lease the all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier S 4x4 King Cab. Just $279 per month with 0 security deposit. Plus, with a Matt Blatt Nissan Peace of Mind 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. We will be financing the vehicle 36 months, 10,000 miles per year lease. Plus tax tag and $479. Offers can be combined. Selling price MSRP $61.40. Then NN $53.2176. MSRP $33.940. Then NN $63.2542. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 4/6/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. The Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
You know, Mickey Moniak just hit another home run in spring training this week. That's his second home run this week. I hope the Phillies don't buy into the fool's gold and think, hey, Mickey Moniak can play center field, and then he'll mess up again in the regular season. We'll get into deeper about the Phillies with Bob Weichel from Crossing and Broad. The Phillies game's on right now, and Bob will join us after the Phillies game and talk about the Phillies, because this news with Odubel Herrera is a wonderful opportunity for Moniak to just disappoint us again in the regular season. 2 home runs in 1 week. I'm sure somebody somewhere is shaking their fist. Get Modiak in center field. And I'm just like, please. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. We've been talking a lot of NBA, Sixers, Nets, Eastern Conference standings. A few of you guys out there have some very interesting opinions who are DMing the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And, of course, your texts at 609-403-0973. Texter says, it seems to me, Josh, you're worried about the Sixers playing the Nets. If the Sixers are championship ready, why are you worried by any team? Well, first of all, being championship ready doesn't mean that a bad matchup isn't there for you. Second of all, I never guaranteed myself or promised the Sixers would win a championship. My whole thing with the Sixers has always been that James Harden was the best possible player you could have gotten in your goal to dump and get rid of Ben Simmons. I'm worried about the Nets because they have 2 of the greatest scorers of the last decade on their team, and the Sixers defense is not exactly good. Joel Embiid plays a high level of defense. Matisse Thybulle's in the lineup because Harden and Maxey and Harris are questionable on the defensive end. Technically, the Nets are a better defensive team right now, even without Simmons, than the Sixers are, because they can put out there guys like Bruce Brown, who is a pest. Durant and Kyrie, when they want to play defense, they're both very good defensively. So what you're basically doing with the Sixers is you're hoping that Harden and company turn it on for the postseason defensively, and that Matisse Thybulle can at least slow down Kyrie or Durant, which I say good luck to that. So, to me, every champion wins for a reason. You know, it's the term thing, the luck of the draw, how things break your way. The odds are in your favor. May the force be with you. No, but seriously, it's the idea that in order for you to win a championship, things have to go your way. Look at last year. Milwaukee didn't play the Sixers in the conference finals. Kevin Durant's foot was on the line. Kyrie was injured. Harden was playing on a bum leg. Do the Bucks get to the NBA finals if all 3 of those things didn't happen? Okay? The year before with the Lakers. If the Lakers weren't playing the Miami Heat in the NBA finals in the bubble, would they have won their championship? We talked about this yesterday, about how injuries can impact a postseason. If Chris Paul is healthy in that NBA finals and you go out there and it's the Rockets that beat the Warriors in 7 games, the Warriors don't beat the Cavs in 4 games. And I would argue that it's actually likely that LeBron wins another ring in Cleveland by beating the Rockets. I mentioned it before. Kobe doesn't get a 5th ring if Kendrick Perkins is healthy in that game 7, because Bynum and Gasol went off in that game 7, and the guy guarding them was Glenn Big Baby Davis. I mean, that was pathetic a couple times in that series. So, winning a championship is about what other variables that come into this. Sixers are championship ready because, frankly, they're better than half the people in their conference. Here are the teams that are championship ready in the Eastern Conference: Miami, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Boston, Brooklyn. That's the 5. The Bulls would be if Lonzo Ball was healthy. The Cavs are just too young. Toronto doesn't have enough firepower. Charlotte's still too young. Atlanta needs more help. So to me, those are the teams that can win a championship: Heat, Sixers, Bucks, Celtics, Nets. To me, it's those 5, and that's it. They're all championship ready. Doesn't mean that they're all going to win a championship, because they still have to contend with one of the teams from the Western Conference. Suns are arguably the best team in the NBA. The Grizzlies just beat the Nets without John Morant last night. If the Warriors can get their heads out of the sand, they can go on a run in the postseason. If Utah ever play up to their potential in the postseason, they could be a champion. And Dallas is looking really good right now after getting Spencer Dinwiddie. He's opening the floor for Luka. And how about the Timberwolves? They're playing in Fuego right now. So you're telling me that if whoever makes it out of the Eastern Conference, they're guaranteed to win a championship? No. So let's not split hairs here. Being championship ready is not a guarantee of winning a championship. There are still certain teams that I think are a bad matchup for the Sixers. In the 7-game series, I think Brooklyn is a bad matchup for the Sixers. In a 7-game series, I think that the Sixers would go 7 with the Heat. I think they would have problems with Milwaukee. Boston would give them a fight. Toronto would give them a fight. They can beat Chicago. They can beat Cleveland. They can beat Charlotte and Atlanta. I would argue, if you asked me if I had to bet if the Sixers win a championship this year, I would say probably not. But they're way closer to winning a championship than they were this time last year. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, Thea chimes in and says, hey, Josh, what seed do the Sixers have to be to play Charlotte or Atlanta? I don't want us losing to a certain seed. I'm assuming they got to be 1 or 2. So it depends on how the play-in goes. For those who don't remember, we have the play-in tournament now. Right now, 7, 8, 9, 10 is Toronto, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Atlanta. I'm getting the feeling more and more that either Toronto or Brooklyn is going to play their way out of the play-in tournament and the Cavs are going to fall into the play-in tournament. And if that's the case, if it's a situation, and I'm just putting a scenario out there, if your 4 are Cleveland, Toronto, Charlotte, Atlanta, I'm assuming there's a possibility that Charlotte and Toronto or Charlotte and Cleveland probably come out of that scenario, depending on the matchups, because Toronto's a bad matchup for Cleveland, but Charlotte is probably a bad matchup for Toronto, and the Nets are a bad matchup for anyone but Toronto because Toronto, Kyrie can't play up there, and Cleveland probably would give Atlanta a lot of problems. So if you're trying to play one of the teams for the play-in tournament, you want to be the 1 or 2 seed. It's pretty simple. I don't think the Sixers, though, are trying specifically to get a specific seed. Doc Rivers already said that. Doc Rivers wants to get to the postseason healthy and be playing at a high level, he says. So I'm going to take Doc's word for it on that front. One more text I want to squeeze in here before we hit the break at 609-403-0973 says, you sound like you're a bitter Sixer fan, tanking to try to avoid playing the Nets. Harden will disappear as usual, and Nets will beat Philly in 6 games with or without Ben Simmons. Well, first of all, I'm not a bitter Sixer fan, and I don't think the Sixers are trying to tank to avoid anybody. What I was discussing is the Nets scenarios, what could or couldn't happen with them. Frankly, if anybody actually knows me, I'm not a diehard Sixer fan. I love sports. I'm a Philly kid by birth and raising, but I'm not some bitter Sixer fan. I don't text her. I'm not fully sure what you think you've heard from me over the years, but I don't think the Sixers are trying to tank. I'm not bitter about anything. I'm just being a realist. I think the Nets would give the Sixers a lot of problems in a 7-game series. I don't think that makes you bitter. I don't think that means the Sixers are tanking. As far as Harden disappearing as usual, the history of Harden in the postseason has been a bit exaggerated. Okay. He's had specific games where he played poorly, but last year he played injured. Okay. I don't know how you judge a guy when he's playing injured. All right. It's one of those situations where he's, the damned if you do, damned if you don't. If Harden doesn't play and he's injured, he's soft. If he does play when he's injured, he's hurting his team. Right. That's the theory out there. But, Harden in his 43 postseason games in OKC, he averaged almost 14 points a game as a bench player and he was shooting almost 36% from three. I don't think that is a bad number at all. You go to his years in Houston, which is the other large sample size of him in the postseason. And again, as a postseason performer, he's averaging 28 points a game in Houston in 85 games. He was shooting a little less from three in those games, but he was also taking more threes. Also got more foul shots in. Shot better from the foul line. So, yes, there were games that Harden played poorly. I specifically remember the loss to the Spurs years ago, where he just completely ghosted that sixth game. He only had 10 points. Off the top of my head, I remember, the Western Conference final against the Warriors, the entire Rockets team played bad. Harden still had 32 points, but the entire team shot poorly. It was one of the worst shooting performances in NBA history. But Harden still had 32 points in that loss, in that game 7. So I think this attitude that Harden always plays poorly in the postseason is a bit exaggerated off of a handful of specific games. When the Rockets lost to the Lakers a couple of years ago in the postseason, in the bubble, for that series, Harden still played well. And they got shellacked in that series. Now, part of that was because Westbrook didn't show up. But for this series, a 5-game loss to the Lakers a couple of years ago, Harden had 29 points per game. He was shooting almost 38% from three, which is above league average. And he was shooting 50% from the field. Harden was doing his job. He averaged 7 assists per game. Had a steal per game, a block per game. It's just the rest of the team around him stunk. So there is a narrative out there that Harden is a bad playoff player, that he'll disappear in the postseason. And history doesn't tell that story. History tells there are specific games that he had that were bad, but in closeout games like the Game 7 loss to the Warriors, the Game 5 loss to the Lakers a couple of years ago, he himself went out there and had a good game. He did his job. His teammates didn't do their job. So how do you measure that? If a guy goes out there and plays 42 minutes and he gets 30 points, 5 assists, a steal, a block, 6 rebounds, shoots 60% from the field, that doesn't sound like a guy who disappears in the postseason. That sounds like a guy who's trying to carry a team to a win by himself. So, listen, I think that we need to wait and see what Harden does on a team that's different. I think the Sixers are not the same as that Rockets team that frankly was built around Harden to carry them. It actually was. I didn't like that style of basketball. I think the Sixers, the way they're playing basketball right now, is much more aesthetically pleasing than that Rockets team. When they lost Chris Paul, when Chris Paul left to go to OKC and they brought in Russell Westbrook, I thought that was ugly basketball. That stupid small ball lineup where they were looking to Harden to do everything on a night-to-night basis. I mean, Robert Covington was playing center. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. So, while I agree with you that, if the Sixers and Nets play in the postseason, I'm leaning toward the Nets to win the series. I don't think it's because Harden disappears. I think it's because who on the Sixers is slowing down Kyrie and KD? You know who has the guys to slow down the Nets offense? It's Milwaukee. It's Miami. I mean, even Toronto has the defensive personnel to make problems for Durant and Kyrie. But as you saw last night, you can let Kyrie and Durant go for 70 points combined, and they still lose because the rest of the team plays poorly. So the Nets are kind of an enigma. So I'm not guaranteeing the Nets or the Sixers. If you ask me who the favorite is, it's Milwaukee. I go by the old adage, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man, as Ric Flair said. All right, more of your texts on the other side. Keep them coming in. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Mark from Atlantic City will get to your message on the other side next.
From the first four to the final four. Listen to the NCAA tournament on 97.3 ESPN.
The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and get you back on the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
It's that time of year again. Wanderlust sets in, and you feel it in your bones. It's time to hit the road, but not before you hit Parkview RV with their incredible 2.5-acre expansion. 8 acres of the hottest names in recreational vehicles: Northern Light, Salem, Durango, Forest River, Columbus, Winnebago, Lance, Thor, and many more. And featuring the new A-Liner, the newest look in RVs, sleek, contemporary. And yours for just over $100 a month. That's right, just over $100 a month. With the low prices Parkview RV is famous for on an amazing selection of new and pre-owned motorhomes, fifth wheels, travel trailers, towables, truck campers, and pop-ups. The selection is unprecedented, and so are the savings at Parkview RV, the largest RV dealer on the peninsula and in the entire tri-state area. Spring is in the air, so check out Parkview RV, Route 13 in North Smyrna, across from Delaware's only rest area. Parkview RV, home of the great deal. Based on 180 months and 5.99% APR.
At Wendy's, March is madness. With our breakfast Baconator. Sausage, egg, and Swiss croissant. Both made with fresh cracked eggs. Or even a honey butter chicken biscuit. And we're just getting warmed up. Get 50% off the official breakfast of March Madness when you order through the Wendy's app. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
For a limited time at participating Wendy's via app offer only. Account registration required. No discount applies to taxes or fees. Not valid with any other offer.
Do you want the best for your car? Then fill up with premium at Circle K. Circle K Premium is our best fuel with double the cleaning detergent, protecting your engine from corrosion and damage so it can work at its best. And that, my friend, increases your mileage for more cha-ching in your pocket. Plus, when you fill up with premium at Circle K, you can save up to 20 cents per gallon. Offer valid Thursdays or Fridays at participating stores. For details, visit CircleK.com. Circle K. How convenient.
Meet Bob Minetti. In 2016, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Bob participated in a clinical trial that included cutting-edge radiation therapy and surgery. He's been in remission since completion. I'm Keisha Sharp. Since losing my mother to pancreatic cancer, I've been working to share the kind of state-of-the-art work being done by Stand Up to Cancer and Lustgarten Foundation. To learn more about the latest research, including clinical trials, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Ever heard the grass is always greener on the other side? If you're in a dead-end job, you want greener grass. Well, My Computer Career can help. In months, not years, they can give you a new life as an IT pro. You learn from home by taking classes live online. Financial aid is available for those who qualify. And My Computer Career offers lifetime career services, which helps you find jobs with companies begging for IT pros. Go to mycomputercareer.edu today and take the free career evaluation. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Research shows people remember radio ads that remind them of the past. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here's an ad that'll really take you back.
Back in my day, I heard a voice from the radio say, Liberty Mutual customizes my home insurance so I only pay for what I need. I'm getting on in years now, but heavens to Betsy, there are some things an old fella like me just never forgets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Searching for fun ways to spend your tax return? Boats for cats. Oh, flotation devices for cats. Don't waste it all on something silly. Spend smarter with Straight Talk. Get our Silver Unlimited plan for $45 a month with unlimited high-speed data and 5 gigs of hotspot data on the nation's largest, most dependable networks with nationwide 5G. If you're looking to get the most out of your refund, your search ends here. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Made a new home remodeling, helping make your dreams a reality.
What does the perfect bathroom look like to you?
Does it have a large, sleek shower? Or maybe a deep, relaxing soaking tub? Hi, I'm Brian from Made Anew Home Remodeling. We love helping homeowners transform their bathrooms into spaces that bring them joy and relaxation. If you're looking to freshen things up, please contact us through madeanewhomeremodeling.com.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Wrapping up the hour here, I love this text from Jeff in Summers Point. Jeff in Summers Point wins text of the day so far. Josh, who do you got to fight? Udonis Haslem or Jimmy Butler? I would have to go Haslem because, one, Haslam's got that, like, old man strength. He's a little crazy. Like, Butler's tough, and he's a fighter, and he's a grinder, but, like, Haslam's got this, like, edge to him, like he's been in some, like, bad situations or something before. Like, I mean, it's hard because Jimmy's background comes from straight poverty. He was homeless for a while, so I don't think I think Haslam's size and his old man wisdom and strength would beat Butler. We'll get more of your comments on the other side. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3. Yes.
Drive to the rim, floater good. It's the Sweet 16 on 97.3 ESPN. Experience the madness of the NCAA tournament only on 97.3 ESPN. All the buzzer beaters. All the upsets and all the big moments. March Madness on 97.3 ESPN. Brought to you by
Resorts Casino Hotel, home to DraftKings Sportsbook. Visit resortsac.com.
Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot. Get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan. The all-new Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Or visit us online, mattblattnissan.com.
I need 4 more of the biscuit carnitas, 2 burnt end platters, 3.
The kitchen at Kai's Barbecue is firing on all cylinders.
Greg, help me bring these to the pickup counter.
He needs food runners who can hit the ground quickly.
86 on the chicken and we're short-staffed. Let's pick it up.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey folks, Rick Mason here from WagerPro.com. Guys, we just picked up late-breaking information on Villanova, Michigan. Call this number. It's absolutely free, and it's on a recorded message. The point spread winner of Villanova, Michigan, absolutely free. 1-800-499-3733. That's 1-800-499-3733. That's 1-800-499-FREE. Absolutely free. The point spread winner of Villanova, Michigan. Guys, this razor sharp, late breaking information is second to none. The best in the business. Bet the Wager Pro side right now on Villanova, Michigan, and we will not let you down. 1-800-499-3733. That's 1-800-499-FREE. That's 800-499-3733. Make sure you download the Wager Pro app for more information like this. But right now, win and win big with WagerPro.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. It's also AutoZone's national hiring event. We're hiring all positions, from sales to warehouse and drivers, both part-time and full-time. Visit careers.autozone.com or any one of our stores.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
If you suspect you have mold in your home, water damage in your basement or crawl space, or a foundation problem, call Perfect Basement. If you're selling your home, address the problems before your buyer discovers them. Perfect Basement provides free, no-pressure inspections for waterproofing, mold remediation, and foundation repair. They're family-owned in South Jersey, licensed and certified, and accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Visit perfectbasement.com and check out their exclusive price guarantee and great reviews. That's perfectbasement.com.
Driving happy with Febreze car.
You're driving home when, oh no, you hit the longest red light in town. What's this? You're smiling because your car smells amazing. You just installed a Febreze car vent clip. Ha ha! 5 weeks ago. With up to 40 days of consistent Febreze scent, those lights can stay red for as long as they'd like.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Kendall Auto Plaza has the area's largest selection of pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models, with over 170 pre-owned vehicles on their huge 100-acre lot. Everything from sporty coupes to SUVs to trucks. Kendall offers the area's best buying experience, easy and hassle-free, with 60 years of customer satisfaction and community service. Discover why Kendall customers are so loyal. Shop for your next pre-owned vehicle at Kendall Auto Plaza, exit 10 of the Parkway, Stone Harbor Boulevard, or online at KendallAutoplaza.com.
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. Have you ever cooked a really fine gourmet meal? Yeah, me neither. But I'm told it all comes down to the ingredients. And when I need ingredients to improve my car, the place I go is eBay Motors. Whether you roasted your last transmission, graded your current floor mats, or pureed your side view mirror on a lamppost, eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And by the way, if you recently fired up your grill, don't worry, eBay Motors has grills too. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Dorothy Roofing, it's a heart and a brain thing. Call 1-877-97-KEVIN. Wizard quality comes with DorothyRoofing.com.
The radio home of Joel Embiid, James Harden, and the 76ers.
Dominate! That's one of the biggest dunks of his career.
We are 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, live in the Matt Black Kia Studios. Still to come, Julian Edlow from DraftKings will join us, talk about March Madness continuing. Tonight you hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Tonight, tomorrow night, coverage begins at 7 p.m. Sweet 16. We'll get into all of the games, the breakdowns, everything you need to know. Football at 4. Andrew DeCecco will join us coming up at 4 p.m. He is live at the Penn State Pro Day today. He'll have some insights for us from over there. Keith Smith from Spot Rat Track will join us coming up at 4:40 p.m. And some Phillies talk with Bob Wankel at 5:25 today on 97.3 ESPN. Sports Bash being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons for heating and air conditioning installation service and maintenance, plumbing, or drain cleaning services. Give Jenkins & Sons a call, 609-641-6262, or visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. Before we get back to the conversation, of course, we got a bunch of messages to get to. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Also, DMs through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. We got DMs, we got texts to get to. But I got to say, a couple things. One, Jeff from Summers Point already has text of the day. Because I think that's the real question from last night. It's not the Sixers winning. It's not Kyrie and the max mandate. It's Udonis Haslem said he was going to kick Jimmy's ass last night. Jimmy Butler tried to get in a fight with Spoelstra. Spoelstra was going to fight him. Spoelstra throws a clipboard down the ground. And old man Udonis Haslem gets up and pulls the old man card. You know, Jimmy and Spoelstra are supposed to be like, you know, the older, younger guy fight. But Haslem's like, nope, you're fighting me instead. They got to break it up on the sideline. So great job from Jeff from Summers Point for chiming in. If anybody hasn't seen the videos, I mean, they're hilarious, but they're also, it really makes you wonder what's really going on down in Miami. I did want to touch on the Desean Watson thing real quick, because I mentioned that I would touch on it earlier, and I don't want to neglect that. I did promise that I would get to that. You have a situation with Desean Watson now, according to media reports down in Texas. He has a second grand jury hearing. So The first grand jury hearing was for 10 specific criminal charges against him. Now, a grand jury in another county is bringing another charge against him from another woman who's involved in civil lawsuits. And the significance of this is we all assumed that Watson was already out of the woods. And he's really not. It seems like you have a situation where I think Watson's legal issues are going to keep being drawn out. It's been drawn out for a year now, and we still don't have a full resolution to any of the civil cases. Now we have another grand jury hearing for him, and I just don't understand what exactly the Browns thought paying him guaranteed $200+ million was that basically telling Deshaun, we don't care about your issues off the field as long as you win us games on the field? Well, that's what it seems it looks like, right? I mean, appearances can be deceiving, but I mentioned earlier, I'm glad the Eagles didn't have to sell their future for Tyreek Hill. And I'm going to say I'm glad they also didn't sell their future for Deshaun Watson either. I don't think it's a coincidence that Watson's legal issues haven't gone away. And that the Browns basically got him by promising him the largest sum of guaranteed money in NFL history. Every report was he wanted to go to Atlanta, preferably because he's from that area. He's from northern Georgia. He grew up hours from Atlanta and hours from the South Carolina border. He's a Southern boy. He's a guy who went to Clemson for a reason. You know, he knows the owner of the Falcons from when he was a child. So Deshaun Watson going to Cleveland was always about the money. And Cleveland putting out there that, you know, we basically want Deshaun Watson instead of Baker because we want an adult at quarterback. The whole thing has always just came off as very bizarre and weird. And for the Eagles, is Deshaun Watson a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts? Yeah, I mean, anybody who argues that is silly. But here's the real issue. If you're supposed to be an organization that values character and the locker room and certain quality of person, and you have an owner who has such a long history of, for lack of a better term, having a very modern liberal political agenda when it comes to feminism and a lot of other things, I think that it would be I think it would be very hard to digest how the owner would spin this. You know, it's one thing to bring in Michael Vick after he went to jail, after he served his time. Deshaun Watson's legal proceedings haven't even played out fully yet. The NFL is going to suspend him at some point. He didn't even play last year. We don't know how far behind the curve he is. So I think the Eagles actually missed two landmines. The one landmine was with the Tyreek Hill, with the Dolphins overpaying to get him financially and other ways. And furthermore, you have a situation where Deshaun Watson, he's not going to, another grand jury is going to check in on him. He still has 22 civil cases against him. I'm supposed to be okay and cool with that? Nah, not happening. I think the Eagles avoided some serious problems. Winning can be done without mortgaging your future as a franchise or sacrificing your soul for a guy who has obvious issues off the field. Look, I understand the NFL has a history of giving people chances that they shouldn't. You know, they suspend Calvin Ridley for a year for betting on the NFL, but people like Greg Hardy get 6 to 10 games for domestic violence accusations. It's the league's a mess. You know, they basically blackball Ray Rice, but they allow Kareem Hunt to keep doing what he's doing in the NFL. Both of them are caught on film. Both of them throw right hooks. Both of them smash people. It's a very inconsistent league in terms of judgment and adjudication. And we all know at the end of the day, talent is all some of these people care about, but it doesn't make it right. And that's where we have to draw the line. There's a line to be drawn between what is right and wrong and what reality is. And sometimes reality doesn't line up with that. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Powered by First Bank of CLC. More football talk coming up with Andrew Shekel for Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Message comes in. It says, Josh, the media keeps talking about every team except the Bucks. They are being overlooked. Well, you know why the Bucks are being overlooked? One, because they're in Milwaukee. You know, the majority of the media caters to major markets because they know the major markets are more likely to tune into their shows and their podcasts and their Twitter feeds. You know, they care more about Los Angeles and New York and Philadelphia, even Miami. Well, in part because some of these people love the vacation in Miami, so they have friends in Miami, like Stephen A. Smith does. But a lot of these people, they look at Milwaukee as that other city, that other town, that other place. And I think that that's one reason why they're overlooked. I think they're also overlooked because of who Giannis is. You know, Giannis is not an attention seeker on social media. He's a guy who's fun, but he's not controversial. He's somebody who is a family man, but he doesn't parade his family around for the television cameras. He is someone who, you know, is passionate about winning, but he doesn't wear a bunch of shirts that talk about how much he wants to win. You know, there's no Jimmy Butler stories or controversial interviews like there is with Giannis. There's no, you know, off the court drama with Giannis that there is with Kyrie or Kevin Durant. You know, Giannis doesn't put himself out there on social media and in the public like Joel Embiid does. You know, Giannis is not this, you know, basically billion-dollar industry unto himself like LeBron James is with his business ventures. I keep going on. The Milwaukee suffers from two problems. One, they're a small city in a big pond full of a lot of big cities. You know, it's like when you go to the Chinese restaurant or whatever restaurant you go to that has the tank. I just think a Chinese restaurant because I feel like I've never been to a Chinese restaurant. I love Chinese food. Anybody who knows me, knows I love Chinese food. I've never been to a Chinese restaurant that didn't have a massive tank with fish in it. And I don't mean one of those like small tanks you get your kid who's like 10 years old to say, hey, look, you got a couple goldfish. Got to feed them every day. You know, I mean like those massive, almost like borderline aquarium type of exhibits. You go into the restaurant and you're like, hey, I'm going to pick up my Chinese food, or hey, we're going to eat in and have some tea and you know, get the whole 5-course meal. And you walk in and boom, there's a huge fish tank in there. And you look over that fish tank while you're waiting for your food and you're like, wow, there's some really big fish in there. And then there's that one fish that's not as big as the rest of them, but it's actually the most colorful one. It's the one that looks like that, you know, there probably was some, you know, ancient story from like, you know, a samurai in Japan or, you know, some, you know, Genghis Khan story from, you know, the Mongolian Empire or something about some colorful fish. And the fish looks like that fish. That's Milwaukee. Milwaukee is the fish in the big tank of fish. That's actually the coolest fish in the tank, but it's overshadowed because there's these big hulking fish in there that are swimming around and staring at you while you're eating your food. Remember, next time you go to one of these restaurants, remember, you are the fish's entertainment. You're watching the fish and they're watching you. And I'm sure that'll make somebody out there lose their appetite next time we go out to eat. Over on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City, Mark in Atlantic City chimes in and says, Josh, I have to agree with the other texter. The Sixers are going to lose the Nets. The national media thinks the same thing. Harden does have a track record of disappearing in the big moments. Here's the thing, Mark and Alexi, and I appreciate you chiming in on the app and putting your name to it because I like to say hello to you guys who are listening out there. I'm not disagreeing the Sixers are a bad matchup for the Nets, and if you asked me who's going to win in a 7-game series right now between the Nets and the Sixers, I'm probably picking the Nets. I'm not disagreeing with that. But we got to stop with this. Harden has a track record of disappearing. As I documented earlier, in the Game 7 against the Warriors that the Rockets lost, he still put up numbers. In the Game 5 loss to the Lakers a couple years ago, he had to do everything, and his team lost. Harden is a guy who does show up in closeout games. He does show up when his team's back is against the wall, except for one game, the Spurs game. And I was one of those people a few years ago when Harden lost to the Spurs, and I called him out. I said, look, James quit on his team. He quit on the game. He gave up. He didn't try in that game. But a track record is not one game. A track record is the full resume. And that's my bigger point. We got to stop with this thing, Harden disappears in big moments thing, because history doesn't tell that story. Okay, Undisputed on FS1 with those knuckleheads tell that story. Screaming Heads on First Take like the parrot stories. Here's the reality. You go through Harden's postseason career. Again, going track record, right? He's not the most clutch guy in the postseason. I'll give you that. But if you take out the games in OKC where he was coming off the bench and he didn't do much of anything in the playoffs back in 2010, you take out those games that he was inactive in the postseason due to injury. You take out the game where he got injured against Milwaukee initially in the conference semifinals. You go through the rest of the games in his career. Again, track record. Track record says that Harden is averaging about 25 points per game for his postseason career. That's what the track record says. Now, look, I can't factor in every single scenario. I can't sit here and, account for every little thing. I mean, we would lose time here on this show in documenting every single little thing that Harden has ever done. All I'm saying is track record. Again, removing a couple of games where you can't really judge the guy because he either didn't play or he was injured or he was basically playing on an OKC team where he was like a fifth option at one point on that team. You take his sixth man of the year. You take his time in Houston. Again, I'm isolating certain circumstances. The guy's averaging about 25 points per game in the postseason. That doesn't sound like a guy who disappeared in the playoffs. It sounds like a guy who overall has performed. Now, here's what James Harden is guilty of. He's inconsistent. He's not reliable game in and game out in every aspect of the game. James Harden is kind of like a power hitter in baseball. There are games that he's going to go 0 for 4 with a couple strikeouts and a couple groundouts. But you don't cut the guy. You don't trade the guy because he has a couple bad games. David Ortiz was one of the most clutch baseball players I've ever seen in the postseason. Even Ortiz didn't go 3 for 4, 2 for 4 in every single game. He had bad games in the playoffs. He had bad games in the regular season. The dude's in the Hall of Fame, and for his career, he's a 286 hitter. For his career. I'm going to pull it up right now. How many games did how many strikeouts? Here's it. So there was a point in time where one postseason he had 8 strikeouts in a series, did Ortiz. That's a lot of strikeouts. I mean, there was a point he was going 5 for 16, 7 for 30, 3 for 12, 3 for 12 again. But he's got those 17 postseason home runs, those 61 postseason RBI. But he also has 72 strikeouts. So, depending on who you are, we can pick and choose narratives. That's what I think Harden is. Harden's like a slugger in the postseason. Somebody messaged in and it says, I came for the sports talk. I stayed for the fish analogy. Classic. Dying laughing over here. Thanks for that. I'm telling you, next time you go out to eat, go check out the fish. They're watching you watch them eat. That's great. Yeah. You know what the best is? If you order sushi and when you eat the sushi, if the fish are watching you eat the sushi. I got to go to commercial break. We'll get more of your messages a little bit later this hour. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Julian Edlow from DraftKings will join us next to talk about March Madness. It returns tonight at 7 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN FM.
From the first four to the final four. Listen to the NCAA tournament on 97.3 ESPN.
Why is it that every March, everyone's either a basketball bracketologist expert or 100% Irish? Not that there's anything wrong with the two. All you need to know this March is at Matt Blatt Kia in Egg Harbor Township or Toms River. If you have a job clearing $350 per week, you could be approved with 0 down, 0.9% financing for 60 months, or $1,000 cash back at Matt Blatt Kia on every clearly marked new Kia in stock. Stuck in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. And don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. $1,705 per $1,000 for 60 months. $1,000 off all 2022 Stingers. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 4/6/2022. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. Very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
Trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Homeowners, no need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Call Jenkins. One call does it all. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. You'll only have to call one number, 609-641-6262. Jenkins & Sons have been on the job since 1949. Renovating your kitchen or bath? Call Jenkins. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services. Jenkins can also repair or replace your water or sewer main. One call does it all. Call 609-641-6262 or jenkinsandsons.com.
Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. It's also AutoZone's national hiring event. We're hiring all positions, from sales to warehouse and drivers, both part-time and full-time. Visit careers.autozone.com or any one of our stores.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
This spring, we're feeling bold new colors and a natural glow. Find it all during 21 Days of Beauty happening now at Ulta Beauty. Discover daily beauty steals at 50% off the must-haves from brands like Anastasia Beverly Hills and Tarte. And discover the hottest new arrivals like, drumroll please, Fenty Beauty, now at Ulta Beauty. Beauty's biggest event ends April 2nd. Shop in-store, online, or try curbside pickup today. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful.
If you're ready to get back to work or just thinking about changing careers, 97.3 ESPN's virtual job fair is the place to start. Just go to the 97.3 ESPN app and tap on the virtual job fair to find exciting opportunities from
Maurice Piers in Wildwood,
Evolution Gaming in Atlantic City.
Peruse all our exhibitors and learn about opportunities just like you would at a live job fair. Take the first step to a brighter future. Visit 97.3 ESPN's virtual job fair at 973ESPN.com and the 97.3 ESPN app.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Thursday edition here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Of course, Sports Bash being brought to you by AC Airport. Plan your spring break getaway now. Create memories that last a lifetime. Start with nonstop flights from Atlantic City to Cancun, San Juan, and Miami. Book your low-cost flight today at Spirit.com. March Madness continues tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And to talk more about the basketball madness, Julian Edlow from DraftKings joins us right now to get more into it right here on 97.3 ESPN. Julian, welcome back. How's it going?
Not too bad. Recovering from starting the madness out in Vegas. I'm finally getting back to East Coast time. Starting to think right again, so that's good.
Well, you came around just in time because the games start tonight. Before we get to any specific games or teams, was there not named St. Peter's? Because I think we all know that's the Cinderella at this point. Is there a team or a game or a matchup that surprised you the most or stood out to you the most?
Maybe not a team that surprised me the most, but I think a team that surprised a lot of people is Providence being here. And look, we have a 1-4 chalk matchup in the Sweet 16 on Friday, and yet people are shocked to see it because everybody had the South Dakota State Jackrabbits beating them in the first round. And Providence on the -130 money line was one of my favorite first round plays. Just because I felt like people were ignoring it, that spread should have been 5 or 6, and people said, oh, well, it's 1 or 2, whatever. I still like South Dakota State. And it turns out that, maybe Providence did get lucky. Ken Palm has them ranked as like the second luckiest season in the last 10 years or something. Maybe they did get some lucky bounces in the regular season, but they also won some of those close games because they have the talent to close out close games. And that's what they did against South Dakota State. And then Richmond was the trendy play, getting to the 4 points in the next round, and they just mopped the floor with Richmond. So, I think Kansas does beat them here, but Providence is a team that, regular season Big East winner, lost a couple of games to Nova without much else pour on their resume. Like, they can give Kansas a run here. And I think just as a 4 seed, they're supposed to be here, but nobody thought they actually would be here.
You mentioned Kansas. They're one of the blue bloods that are still in this tournament. Every year we hear Rock Chalk Jayhawk. It's like drilling a hole in my head. I got to hear that so much all basketball season. But how good is this Kansas team? Like, is Kansas, or are they just, it's another year where they're in the tournament?
Yeah, so man, it was such a balanced year in college basketball that I think these 1 seeds don't quite mean as much. Gonzaga was definitely the best team, I think, followed by Arizona, and then a lot of these teams could be 1s or 2s or whatever. And Kansas wound up winning the Big 12 regular season and winning the Big 12 conference tournament. So you have to give them a 1 seed. There's no other way to really go about it. But if you look at them in terms of their talent, they're good for sure, but they're not a classic Kansas team. And outside of like Ochai Agbaji, they don't really have any great scoring. So I think that Kansas is very beatable. They have a great draw to make it to the Final Four. They're like a -310 money line favorite here against Providence, which should be their toughest test. And if they win the game, they're getting a double-digit seed no matter who wins between Miami and Iowa State, and they'll be a double-digit favorite probably. So if Kansas can, put it this way, I don't like Kansas much, but if they can beat Providence, I think they're going to the Final Four. And then that's when you want to take a Villanova, an Arizona, a Houston, whoever it may be. I will take that team against Kansas. I think the Final Four is Kansas's ceiling.
Of course, Kansas Providence tomorrow night. You hear all the Sweet 16 games right here on 97.3 ESPN FM tonight and tomorrow night. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Julian Edlow from DraftKings joining us right here on 97.3 ESPN. Julian, let's hit on some of the games that are tonight. Let's start with the Arkansas-Gonzaga game. I think most people are assuming Gonzaga's getting to the Final Four. But can Arkansas actually give them a game? Because I think people were conflicted about Arkansas coming into this tournament.
Yeah, the SEC in general, I thought, and many did, was the best conference in college basketball. And here we are in the Sweet 16, and there's one left standing. Everybody is knocked off. The most notable of the bunch, Kentucky. And we know how that went. I thought Kentucky was the most matchup-proof team in the tournament. I had them making the final out of that side of the bracket. I had them taking down Gonzaga on that side of the bracket. And it just goes to show you how we get one of those every year that's like, oh, pick your Cinderellas. Nobody sees one coming, and it always happens, and that was the one. But as it speaks to Arkansas now, they've been really good all year, especially in the underdog role. And they've been great against the spread all year. I don't think they're actually going to win this game, but I think they're going to be in this game. I really like playing Arkansas on the first half line. They covered the first half in both of their tournament games so far. Gonzaga hasn't. They've struggled in the first half and then gone on to win their games. So I got cute in my article and wrote up playing Arkansas first half here and then maybe looking to come back with Zag's second half. But I will say the one time that Gonzaga faced SEC competition this year, they were the same number, 9.5-point favorite against Alabama, and they lost that game outright by, I think, 9 or 11 points. So Gonzaga certainly has to be careful here with a lot of talent coming from Arkansas, but I do think Gonzaga ultimately gets there. Yeah,
I'm seeing over at DraftKings Sportsbook, the current first half for Arkansas is +5.5. So that seems like a pretty reasonable thing to jump on, especially considering the overall number is 9.5. Like the whole first half seems to be way too much. Like you said, Gonzaga typically has struggled recently in the first half of games. The next game tonight that is on the slate is Michigan-Villanova. And obviously in this area, there's a lot of Villanova fans. A lot of people love the Wildcats, Jay Wright, etc. But Michigan's on a run right now. And I think Michigan is a very dangerous underdog here.
Michigan is a dangerous underdog. They actually have a 5-4 winning record outright as an underdog this season, covering 5 of their last 6 as a dog as well. So Villanova's got to be careful. I really liked Villanova against Ohio State, and that was my largest bet of the opening weekend. And it got there, but excuse me, Ohio State's a little bit smaller than Michigan, and Ohio State beat a team in Loyola Chicago that just literally couldn't shoot, had one of the worst shooting performances we've seen in tournament history. Michigan's proved its worth so far in its 2 wins, its 2 comeback wins. What I don't like about Michigan is the coaching. I'm not a huge Juwan Howard fan. I think they're susceptible to falling into certain lulls, but they do have size, which Villanova can struggle with. Personally, so I wrote up, I like the Villanova side here. They're the best free throw shooting team in college basketball. They're the best free throw shooting team in the last 10 years of college basketball. I personally bet on them to cover the first half because of those Michigan slow starts, and I think that the coaching advantage will prove worth more kind of out of the gates. Villanova's led in 8 at halftime in 8 of their last 10 games by an average of 8.5 points. So I think they're going to get out to a lead here. Ultimately, I think they hang on to it and win the game. But yeah, the 5 points for the game is a bit much. Michigan's going to be in it.
Texas Tech Duke is a pick'em game right now over at DraftKings Sportsbook. To me, Julian, the thing I like the most is, and I've heard other people bring this up, I really like the under 137. I don't think this is going to be some flash and run kind of game. I think this is going to be a grinder. There's part of me that hopes Duke does lose because I'm tired of hearing about everything is Coach K's. It's his last Sweet 16. It's his last game. It's like, all right, we get it. He's retiring. So, but obviously this being a pick'em is a very eye-opening thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's also getting sucked into brand name, like Duke versus Texas Tech. Oh, it's a pick'em. Well, yeah, it's also a 2 versus a 3 seed, which maybe the 2 seed lays a couple points here and there, but it's a pick'em type of game. And it's a younger Duke team that has offensive explosion and doesn't play much defense against a veteran Texas Tech team that has the highest defensive efficiency in the nation. So if you like the under, I would tell you probably also lean Texas Tech in this game. That said, it's probably easier to muck up a game than it is speed it up. So if Texas Tech wants to play slow, they're going to play slow, and maybe Duke can still win it in a grinder. You don't know. So maybe the under is a little bit safer than taking a side, especially in a game that's a pick'em game. But yeah, I lean to the defense. I lean to the veteran experience. I'll pick Texas Tech to advance.
I'm starting to feel like that maybe the bet to make tonight is if you were to go on the DraftKings Sportsbook and parlay the Arkansas first half under with the Texas Tech Duke over under, just throw them both together at this point.
I'm not going to tell you to start parlaying totals because that's when things get dicey. The Gonzaga Arkansas total is the highest on the board by a wide margin. And I don't know if Arkansas wants to try and win that game by getting into a track meet and a shootout with Gonzaga. So I would lean under there. So I don't disagree with any of your analysis necessarily. I would just say be careful with the old parlays.
I hear you. Yes, be careful. You can always tease it as well if you want to protect yourself.
Don't tease college basketball. Don't teasings for football. Trust me. Few points doesn't make a difference.
Gotcha. Final game on the slate tonight: Houston, Arizona, 1.5. It's a very small margin. I keep hearing from the experts, Julian, that Arizona is one of the most talented teams in college basketball, but yet Houston, if you go by the betting line, is right there with them.
Yeah, and if you look at analytics, KenPom, Houselometrics, different sites that predict these scores, a lot of them have Houston as the winner. And it's about their coaching, and it's about the way that they're playing defense right now. And Arizona's younger with a first-year head coach, and showed their weaknesses against TCU. Now the question is the way that Houston's been playing in the tournament going to carry over, and Arizona's poor play is going to carry over? Or is this reset button in this time that you get in between the Sweet 16, is Arizona going to come back and kind of be closer to what it's been? I also think that this game, we're going to have a good feel for this game once it begins, because Houston is very physical. So if a veteran physical Houston team is able to play rough and not as much as being called, and they're letting them play, Arizona will get frustrated. I think Houston ultimately prevails. We talk all the time about the officiating in this tournament and how inconsistent it can be. If it's the other way around and fouls are getting called and Arizona's getting to the free throw line, and now you're starting to get foul trouble on Houston, I like Arizona. So I have some Arizona future tickets that I'm going to ride out here, and just kind of going to take a look in game. I might wind up hedging some on Houston in game if they're just letting them battle this out. But if you're seeing the whistle blow, that's probably a good sign for Arizona.
Julian Edlow from DraftKings joining us right here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Of course, Sweet 16 begins tonight, 7 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN FM. Tomorrow, Julian, is a game that other people as well are really keeping an eye on. St. Peter's, Jersey City. Umar Shannon from Atlantic City is an assistant coach. The last time a Jersey school was in the Sweet 16, it was Seton Hall, and it was Shaheen Holloway playing on the team. Now he's coaching St. Peter's. It's up the road here in Philadelphia. I got to tell you, there's a lot of people who want to hit that plus 12.5 on St. Peter's versus Purdue. Should they?
I don't hate it, and St. Peter's is going to try and slow it down. They're one of the best defensive teams in the country by metrics. They're one of the best defensive teams in the last 10 years by metrics and analytics. Now, like, we saw what they did to Kentucky is the thing. They're capable of that. We just saw it against Kentucky, so they can do it against Purdue. The question is, will Lightning strike twice? And I tend to lean no. And St. Peter's is as public as it gets. Everybody loved watching him last weekend. You got the kid with the mustache signing his Buffalo Wild Wings deal. Can St. Peter's keep their heads in it all week, going home, hearing all this noise, and then go back out to Philly and contend with a Purdue and keep it a close game? I don't know. The two times that they were double-digit dogs earlier in the season, they lost and failed to cover against Providence, and they lost and failed to cover against St. John's. And Purdue is better than both of those teams, and you're getting a shorter number here with Purdue because of how well St. Peter's played in those first two games. So I tend to think that Purdue having this week to re-prepare for things rather than getting thrown into an opponent that you don't know 2 days later means the world. This team's not going to catch Purdue off guard. So I tend to think like something like Purdue first half, which is laying 7. They should be up double digits at halftime if they're well prepared for this team. And St. Peter's is kind of caught a little off guard. So yeah, the full game I'm staying away from, because as you'll see, sports books are taking DraftKings right now. 71% of the bets are on St. Peter's.
Well, part of that's also because people couldn't bet on them in the first 2 rounds here in Jersey. So because of that whole Jersey school rule, now all of a sudden it's on the board and people are losing their minds. So that might be part of the bets as well. You know how that works. Once something's on the board and people can grab it, it's like candy for people. They don't even think straight anymore. They're just hitting buttons at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that your neck of the woods, your market, is very excited to wager on the Peacocks on Friday night. That's what's going on. And like the funny part is, like, how often do you get a Sweet 16 game 2 hours away from campus? That's like a home game. But if they get 100% student attendance, like, that might not be enough. Purdue might have more fans there is the crazy part. So like
that's true.
It's just there's the home court advantage almost goes out the window. It's cool that it's local though.
It's very cool. And there's a lot. I know people who are going to that game tomorrow night. So I know that, there's going to be a lot of local flavor up there. But the next game is the game, Julian, that I like the most. I've already told people this is my bet of the Sweet 16. I'm taking North Carolina outright to win. I think UCLA, I think the injuries are going to hit them here.
Likewise, I'm with you here. So I have the UNC plus 120 money line. I love the way they're playing. UCLA is nothing too shabby, but we've seen them beat recently, and we know about the Jaquez injury. He did practice today, but Mick Cronin said that he's going to want to try to play, but will he be effective playing? So it doesn't sound great. And it sounds like if he's out there, he's certainly nowhere close to 100%. Carolina just needs to keep that starting five intact. And they were just overlooked being an 8 seed. Like, they had all the talent, first year head coach. Maybe it took them a little while to get going. And now they're going. They have classic North Carolina talent. So this is not your typical 8 seed. Took the long way of arriving to that. You see him against Baylor, they gave up the 25-point comeback, yes, but that was after Manick, who had 25 points, was ejected. That's a key starter off the floor. One of their main ball handlers fouled out with a ton of time left in that game and gave Baylor a way back in. And the refs just weren't great. A lot of things went Baylor's way to help create that comeback. So you take that and you turn it all into just, I'm impressed that they got the lead, and then I'm impressed that in overtime, the bunch that they had were able to fend off that momentum and win it. Now it's the perfect time to get that week off after that kind of marathon game and reset and be in Philly, with UCLA coming from the West Coast. I'm with you. I think UNC is the side in that one.
Yeah, I was sweating that game because I said on the air, I had North Carolina outright to win the last game too. And of course, when it goes to overtime, you just, face palm, just like,
yep.
But they found a way to get the win. Obviously, the final game, I think this was a scheduling purpose. I believe they purposely scheduled Iowa State Miami as the last game because it's a Friday night, and I think most people by this point on Friday night might either just not be paying attention. But it is no offense to Iowa State and Miami, but it definitely is the least sexy of all the games in the Sweet 16, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the double-digit seeds, and it's not the teams like a St. Peter's that everybody's jazzed up to see if they can continue the Cinderella run. They're major, they're power conference teams, but they weren't great ones during the regular season. So I think people don't have a lot of interest. I will have a bet here. I like Miami. I wish I got the opening number around a pick. They're now laying 2.5. I was on LSU against Iowa State and obviously lost. Just thinking the more athletic team out of the SEC going to be able to score. What I overlooked is how much the firing of the weird, unexpected firing of head coach Will Wade was going to matter and mean to the team. What were they going to look like? I didn't take that into consideration because I thought LSU was that much better, and it mattered. So Iowa State was able to advance there. And then what's the perfect matchup for Iowa State? Wisconsin. It's a rock fight, a team that wants to be in a rock fight against another team that wants to be in a rock fight, and that means It's anybody's game. And ultimately, Iowa State prevailed in that one. Now you're catching a team out of the ACC with the ACC is not looking too bad anymore. It was looking bad. Duke's right where it's supposed to be in the Sweet 16. UNC's in the Sweet 16. Notre Dame won a play-in game, upset another game, and covered against Texas Tech. The ACC is looking good all of a sudden. And Miami throttled Auburn, held on against USC, a good Pac-12 team, and then throttled Auburn. So Miami's got 3 good guards. They're rolling right now. They're playing really well. I don't think Iowa State is ultimately going to be able to keep up and score here with a team like Miami. So I really like Miami in this one.
He's Julian Edlow. Give him a follow on Twitter at Julian Edlow for more and deeper analysis on the college basketball as well as the NBA. He's keeping up on the NBA slate as well. And of course, the NCAA tournament continues tonight, 7 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Julian, appreciate the time, the extended conversation, and best of luck on the bets this weekend.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me, Josh, and best of luck with your bets, everybody.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Still to come, football at 4 with Andrew DeCecco live from the Penn State Pro Day, writing about the NFL draft for InsideTheBirds.com. Also, Keith Smith from Spot Track, NBA Insider, will join us coming up at 4:40. And Bob Wankel with the latest on the Phillies coming up at 5:25 here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Thursday afternoon live in the Matt Black Kia studios.
We never stop talking Eagles and NFL. It's football at 4 every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Power Penny days are back just in time for spring at JCPenney, and a new season brings spectacular savings. Stock up on essentials for your wardrobe and your home through Sunday.
Buzzer beaters and bracketologists, leprechauns and green beer. One more nor'easter snowstorm. You know they're going to happen in March. You just don't know when.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. Every day, all month at Matt Blatt Nissan. New 2022 Titan trucks. $5,000 off. Plus, AJ, the trade man, will get you more for your trade. So you can drive a brand new Nissan with 0 down and pay 0% interest on every new Nissan in stock. Lease the all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier S 4x4 King Cab. Just $279 per month with 0 security deposit. Plus, with a Matt Blatt Nissan Peace of Mind 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. Equity will be refinanced against the vehicle. 36 months, 10,000 miles per year lease. Plus tax tag and $479. Offers can be combined. Selling price MSRP 6140. Then NN 532176. MSRP 33940. Then NN 632542. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 4/6/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
So in life, throws you uh-ohs. Just save, better get Mako.
Go to Mako.com for an online estimate today.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services. Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help. Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
You served your country. Now let VA serve you.
Ready to get fiscally fit in 2022? First Harvest Credit Union offers home equity loans as low as 2.99 annual percentage rate for 5 years and as low as 3.49 annual percentage rate for 10 years. For more on these specials, visit firstharvestcu.com or visit a local branch by March 31st. For additional information as to costs, call 800-582-7640. Must apply by March 31st, 2022. Subject to qualifications and approval. Other restrictions apply. Equal housing lender.
When was the last time everyone agreed on what's for dinner? You want ramen, they want pizza. Thankfully, there's something for everyone on the DoorDash app. For a limited time, get 50% off and 0 delivery fees on your first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code ORDERNOW50. That's 50% off up to a $12 value and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you enter promo code ORDERNOW50. That's promo code ORDERNOW50. Subject to change, terms apply. Get more from your neighborhood.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. It's also AutoZone's national hiring event. We're hiring all positions, from sales to warehouse and drivers, both part-time and full-time. Visit careers.autozone.com or any one of our stores.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Welcome to the Caesars Sportsbook Report. The NCAA tournament is underway, and to celebrate, Caesars Sportsbook has released a brand new offer for new users. Download the Caesars Sportsbook app and get started with up to $1,100 in first bet insurance. Sign up with promo code RADIO CZR. That's one word, and then place your first bet on the NCAA tournament, hockey, NBA, you name it. Here are the latest betting facts. Check out the NFC East with the Cowboys -150, Philadelphia +330, the Commanders are +500, and the Giants are plus 1,000. You must be 21 and physically present in New Jersey. New users only. Bet amount of qualifying wager returned only if wager is settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit. Must be used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promo for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Caesars Sportsbook. Download it, people.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Still to come on 97.3 ESPN. We'll dig deeper into the Eagles and the targets they need to look at. Obviously, one of those targets, Jahan Dotson, Penn State Pro Day today. Andrew DeCecco will give us the latest from the Penn State Pro Day. Draft prospects keep an eye on and more. Coming up next on Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast and InsideTheBirds.com. Also, still to come, Keith Smith from Spot Track will join us at 4:40 p.m. Dig deeper in the NBA, the aftermath of the Kyrie being allowed to play, his perspective on the Sixers, and more. And then this Phillies news, we're going to get into it with Bob Wankel tonight because Odubel Herrera is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. And the whole shtick was you brought back Herrera to have this platoon with Bierling because they were supposedly those two combined were more inexpensive than getting a real center fielder in free agency or via trade. And now you're swapping out Herrera for Adam Hazley. I mean, the whole thing just is a weird situation. Let's Wankel his thoughts coming up from Crossing Abroad. Bob Wankel at 5:25. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on a Thursday, 97.3 ESPN.
Health update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
It's the morning of your colonoscopy. You spring out of bed and you say, I just can't wait to get this test. Said no one ever. Let's face it, getting a colonoscopy is no fun. But you know what's worse than colonoscopy? And I'm just going to be blunt here. Colon cancer. March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Here's something we all need to know. The new recommendation for our first colonoscopy for people of average risk is now age 45. This is important because colon cancer is now on the rise in people younger than their mid-50s. There's really nothing to it. You're asleep during the entire procedure, and most of us only need the test every 10 years. It's a small price to pay to detect colorectal cancer, which is highly treatable if found in its earliest stages. So make that appointment today. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health update with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. March Madness continues, and there's lots of great tickets to be had at PropSwap.com. Luke Burgandy joins me. And Luke, there's some teams that got juice right now. Blue Bloods like North Carolina, UCLA, and Big Ten team, Purdue.
Tickets on all three of those teams are available right now. So UCLA, you can find multiple tickets on PropSwap at odds of 15-1. That is the best price in the country. I see them at 12-1, 13-1, tons of different sports books. So we have an excellent price on UCLA tickets. That, of course, is a local game in Philly versus North Carolina. We've been selling tickets on Houston and Purdue. Over the past week, Purdue, we've been selling tickets at odds of 9-1 on Purdue. They're 8-1 or lower at every sports book in America.
March Madness is going on at PropSwap.com and the PropSwap app. Log in right now to get involved for the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Luke, March is known for basketball, but the NFL doesn't seem to sleep. This Dolphins trade has completely changed a lot of the odds at the books.
Yeah, this is the most active offseason in terms of top 25 players I can recall. Matt Ryan goes to Indy, their odds go down. Tyreek Hill goes to the Dolphins from Kansas City. Their odds go from 75-1 to 50-1. I have rarely seen odds shift like that. Quarterbacks, you'll typically see a 30% shift, but not for a non-quarterback. So I'd be selling that. If I have a Dolphins future from a New Jersey book or a PA book, get that thing posted on PropSwap to sell that for a 40% return when we're still 6 months away from football getting played. That seems like a very good deal to me.
Dolphins, Browns, even if you want to get involved with the Eagles, there's all kinds of opportunities at PropSwap.com and the PropSwap app. Get involved today. Luke Burgandy, great stuff today.
Thanks, Josh.
Why is it that every March, everyone's either a basketball bracketologist expert or 100% Irish? Not that there's anything wrong with the two. All you need to know this March is at Matt Blatt Kia in Egg Harbor Township or Toms River. If you have a job clearing $350 per week, you could be approved with zero down, 0.9% financing for 60 months, or $1,000 cash back at Matt Blatt Kia on every clearly marked new Kia in stock. Stuck in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released, so bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. And don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. $1,705 per $1,000 for 60 months. $1,000 off all 2022 Stingers. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 4/6/2022. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. Have you ever cooked a really fine gourmet meal? Yeah, me neither. But I'm told it all comes down to the ingredients. And when I need ingredients to improve my car, the place I go is eBay Motors. Whether you roasted your last transmission, graded your current floor mats, or pureed your side view mirror on a lamppost, eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And by the way, if you recently fired up your grill, don't worry, eBay Motors has grills too. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
If you're ready to get back to work or just thinking about changing careers, 97.3 ESPN's Virtual Job Fair is the place to start. Just go to the 97.3 ESPN app and tap on the Virtual Job Fair to find exciting opportunities from
Maurice Beers in Wildwood,
Evolution Gaming in Atlantic City.
Peruse all our exhibitors and learn about opportunities just like you would at a live job fair. Take the first step to a brighter future. Visit 97.3 ESPN's Virtual Job Fair at 973ESPN.com and the 97.3 ESPN app.
A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit. He stumbles. He's down.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN presents the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with 97.3 ESPN.com's Andrew DeCecco.
My first allegiance is what will be best for the Philadelphia Eagles and our fans for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
InsideTheBirds.com is where you want to hit up for all of your Eagles, NFL, and draft coverage. And the man who is all over the draft leading up to draft day and beyond, Andrew DeCecco, joins us live from Penn State Pro Day, where there was an appearance, a sighting of a very specific member of the Eagles organization. We'll get into all that and more now with the man himself, Andrew DeCecco, at DeCecco NFL on Twitter, here on the Sports Bash with 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. Andrew, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. Good to speak with you. I'm enjoying the 65-degree and sunny weather here in State College. It was raining back home, so no complaints on my end.
It was downpouring back here. Get it right, okay? First of all, I got to get to the appearance, the Eagles' appearance out there. Jonathan Gannon was at the Pro Day. So what does that say to you, Andrew, as someone who covers the Eagles?
Well, to me, that screams Jaquan Brisker, the safety, to me. I mean, looking at what the Eagles currently have on their roster right now, they've almost, outside of a trade that would be unforeseen, they really have painted themselves into a corner in which they almost have to address the safety position in a big way in the draft. Obviously, re-signing Anthony Harris really doesn't move the needle at all, Josh. So what you're looking at here is, I think Brisker would be an ideal candidate at 51, or should the Eagles opt to trade down in the first round, you might see someone like Brisker, his stock start to rise, and he might be one of those guys that teams try to grab at the end of the first, and someone who really continues to rise throughout the pre-draft process. I thought he really helped himself today ran a 4.4. You also have to look at Jesse Luketa, the linebacker, who worked with the defensive ends today. He has been in contact with Philadelphia per him when I asked him today, but he didn't get a chance to speak to Gannon. I like him as he's 257 pounds. So I think that he can either add, another 10 and be a defensive end, or I think he could really be an effective linebacker. I thought he really addressed a lot of questions that people had about his short area quickness. His short shuttle was 4.2 flat today. Very impressed with him. I thought he made some money and helped himself in a big way. And, Jahan Dotson to me was the star of the day, in my opinion. I thought he put on a clinic as far as ball tracking, and he made every catch look effortless, and he was a very smooth technical route runner. So I was really impressed with him. So, those are just a few of the guys that I thought, as soon as I saw Gannon, I thought, it makes a lot of sense, because those are all areas that the Eagles really need to shore up.
Before I ask you more about Dotson, I want to dig a little deeper on Brisker. Explain to the audience what kind of safety he is, because for the last few years before Jonathan Gannon in the Schwartz defense, the idea is when you had Malcolm Jenkins and when you had Rodney McLeod, you had a specific style of safety. But Gannon's defense is different than Schwartz's. And last year he had Harris, he had McLeod, as you mentioned. They bring back Harris. So if they were to draft a guy like a Jaquan Brisker, how does he fit into Gannon's scheme? And what has he shown you at the college level that translates to the NFL?
It's a great question. So what I see that I really like is that he is versatile. He's scheme versatile. And I thought that in many ways, Jonathan Gannon was hamstrung in what he was able to do with those two safeties. So I think when you add a player like Brisker, who can line up at corner, he can line up at safety, he can play in the box, he can play on the back, he can play deep coverage. Very fluid, rangy player that can really do it all. And I kind of envision him being sort of like a Malcolm Jenkins versatile chess piece at the next level. There's not many things that he can't do. And when you look at what the Eagles really need, and he would give Jonathan Gannon so much more flexibility on the back end in terms of what he's able to do with disguising coverages and things of that nature. And when you're looking at 51, I think that he would be the ideal target at that spot.
You mentioned about the versatility within schemes. I think that's one of the things people forget about Gannon, and that is doesn't have a stagnant defense. It's not something that's just, this is a 4-3 or this is a 3-4. He wants to play variations in different things. So, for example, you mentioned Brisker. He's at Penn State. They signed Hassan Reddick. How do those kind of players become more ideal than some of the guys the Eagles had last year?
Well, just giving him, optionality and different variations and disguises in which he can throw at teams. And you got a guy like Hassan Reddick. He's a souped-up version of what they actually envisioned they were getting in Jannard Avery. So they're going to be using him in a multitude of ways, Josh. But I think that you're going to see them deploy him quite similar to how you saw Jannard Avery, how he was used last season, except he'll be, and he'll be much more effective in that role. And then Brisker, you look at what the Eagles had to work with at safety last year. I was really shocked that Harris was the safety that was retained instead of McLeod, because I thought for sure that Rodney gives him a little bit more variety and flexibility in which he's able to kind of run his defense on the back end. And given his history with the team, kind of surprising. But both Harris and McLeod really are limited in terms of their athleticism and their range and just their overall game, their attributes and their intangibles and their traits. They're 30 years old, and they just don't move the needle quite enough, and they're just not good enough players. And I think when you look at someone like Brisker and all that he's able to do, it's very enticing, especially, if you're Jonathan Gannon, who was really had his hands tied behind his back in many regards. I think a lot of folks forget that because it's easy to point the finger at one guy, but he was really limited, Josh, in what he was able to do defensively. And both of those players really give him, an opportunity to really turn things loose.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Andrew DeCecco, check out all of his work over at InsideTheBirds.com. He was at Penn State's Pro Day today talking about some of the players on display. One of them you mentioned a little bit earlier, Jahan Dotson. He's an interesting player because he's a guy who seems to catch everything that's thrown at him. He didn't play with some great quarterbacks at Penn State, but he was able to still be a very productive player. What are your observations of him, and would he make sense for the Eagles if they could snag him maybe some point in the draft?
Well, he was listed at slightly over 5'10", so he doesn't really fit the bill as far as the big body boundary X receiver that the Eagles really need. However, he's a playmaker, and you want to get as many good players on your football team as possible. He's a winner. He instantly invigorates that wide receiver room and complements what they already have in a big way. And he's someone who just attacks football, runs smart routes, knows how to find the openings in zone, can affect all three levels of the field. He's just an advanced player. And you said he caught everything, and today it was no exception. He caught everything thrown to him, tracked the ball. I was just very impressed with how he handled himself on in a big moment like this. And it really just, proves that he's NFL ready. And the way that he conveyed himself, it wasn't an arrogant confidence, but it was a confidence. He truly believes that he's the best receiver in this draft. Whether or not he is or not, that's always up for debate. But I really like his skill set and what he's able to do, and I think he's an instant contributor to whatever team he goes to. Very mature kid and a very refined skill set.
You mentioned the kind of receiver the Eagles need. Well, obviously this week they signed Zach Pascal, who was introduced by the Eagles today. Seems like a nice guy, seems like a good guy. But when I talked to Jason Avant the other day, Andrew, he described him as situational and that he's not really the guy that the Eagles need. So if the Eagles still need a big body receiver, how do you envision a guy like Pascal fitting in?
I was really caught off guard with the amount of discourse surrounding that Zach Pascal signing. We're talking about a guy who's going to be a third or fourth wide receiver on the depth chart. He makes the room better. It's not. They still need to make a big move there. It's not good enough yet, but he does help the room. You're getting a veteran there. You're getting somebody who toiled in relative anonymity in the early part of his career, and that's an undrafted free agent. Didn't make two teams, was coming from Old Dominion, which is not exactly a football factory. There's a lot to learn from them in terms of route running. You saw that with Travis Fulgham, for example. And I thought that he really proved that he works hard. He's diligent in his blocking. He does the dirty work. He's been, oddly enough, he's been a pretty strong red zone presence for the Colts. So I think that he's going to be a factor there. I think he's going to set a good example for the young receivers that the Eagles currently have. And he's going to be outstanding on special teams. He's a great gunner, and he can also contribute as a returner. Now, I'm not going to sort of spin this signing like they signed some all-pro, Pro Bowl wide receiver that has all-pro, upside. But he does help the room, and I thought it was a good sign. There's familiarity with Nick Sirianni, and Sirianni got him to flourish. 44 catches, I believe he had one season with Sirianni. That is flourishing, considering where he came from and what he had to do to get to that point. So I'll be interested to see what he does and how he factors into the rotation. I envision him as the third receiver, but still, they need a big body receiver to go with what they already have. And I think that either by trade or you go through the draft to find that player. But the room certainly needs another piece. They're not quite there yet, and I don't think there will be anybody out there that will tell you that they're 100% all the way there.
Well, let me ask you about some of the guys who could be grabbed. We mentioned the draft. I see mock drafts that talk about Treylon Burks from Arkansas. I've heard people talk about George Pickens from Georgia would be a great addition for the Eagles. Do either one of those guys interest you? Do you think either one of those guys makes sense for the Eagles?
Burks in particular. Pickens is going to be going in a sort of an odd spot, in which I think that would sort of wipe out the Brisker pick. I think he could go late 1 or early 2. And I think that he's kind of going to go in a spot where the Eagles might have to trade down to get him or trade up in the second or something to that effect. But I think Burks could be, it would make a lot of sense, Josh. It would be a first-round option, and I wouldn't rule it out, knowing that the Eagles are willing to swing the bat and try to go after these wide receivers. You saw them do it. Obviously, they tried with Rager. They succeeded with Devontae Smith. They reached high, and they reached, being the optimal term, for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the draft. So they're certainly not they're not afraid or hesitant or timid to do that. So I think that Burks would make a lot of sense there, possibly at 19, I would say, but and how does he factor in? He gives the Eagles an aggressive outside receiver that's going to fight for the football. and come down with those contested catches in the red zone. I think between him and like a Dallas Goedert, I think that you might see a lot more red zone productivity with a player, of that mold, and that's what they really need.
On Tuesday, Jason Avant said almost the same exact thing as Greg Cosell on the Intel on the Inside the Birds podcast. They both said that Burks reminds them in what he's able to do to Deebo Samuel. What is your reaction to that?
Yes. As soon as I heard that, I was like, absolutely. It's Deebo. We're not saying, and I'm not saying that he's certainly a Deebo Samuel clone, but he does have those similar traits. And envisioning how he could fit into that offense and the different, the different stresses he can put on, opposing defenses is really enticing to think about. You have to think, if you're Shane Steichen, Nick Sirianni, and the coach and Aaron Moorhead. So, I mean, just getting him in space and letting him take advantage of his athleticism, and he's going to be an explosive guy that can move all around formations, and he also has the size that they really need. So it screams Deebo Samuel, and I think that he would make the most sense out of all out of the receivers that are in the first round conversation.
Now, in free agency, obviously the market is starting to slow down a little bit thanks to all these crazy trades. It feels like every day there's a new story. It looks like Kansas City's going to probably grab a guy or two. The report came out from Schefter a little bit ago that Marquez Valdes-Scantling,
Valdes-Scantling,
going to Kansas City. There's speculation about some of the other guys, but there are some names out there, some veteran guys. Obviously, one of them is Jarvis Landry, Julio Jones, T.Y. Hilton used to be in Indianapolis. Do any of the veteran free agents out there you look at and say, I would take a shot on that guy? Or do you feel like the Eagles need to wait till after the draft to maybe see who maybe gets cut after that?
I mean, if anything, you might look at a guy like a Devontae Parker who has some size to him, but he's more of a volume receiver. And how do you disperse how do you sort of disperse the targets, right? I mean, they already have a guy in Dallas Goedert to need to feed the ball to, and they didn't even do so enough last season in certain points. And you have a guy like Devontae Smith who really deserves, the lion's share of the target. So, I mean, I think that you might be able to get him for a relatively, might be able to get him for a song, really, considering what they already have there. But he doesn't stay healthy. And I mean, look at guys like T.Y. Hilton. I mean, and Jarvis Landry. These are smaller receivers that they already have, very similar type of players. Well, not similar type of players. And Jarvis Landry is more of that physical, move the chains type of receiver, runs very angry after the catch, sure-handed, good leader. And T.Y. is more the explosive threat, but he has, a history of a lot of soft tissue injuries and things like that. But T.Y. Hilton's an outstanding leader, and he would definitely help the room. But I mean, again, they need a big body because that still wouldn't solve the glaring issue and deficiency that really lies at that wide receiver room. So I don't know that would make a ton of sense if they go that route.
By the way, a little Eagles breaking news and a mild surprise. The Eagles are re-signing Derek Barnett to a 2-year deal, according to Schefter and Jeff Mosher. So I guess Derek Barnett's market didn't go too well, Andrew.
Right. Well, I kind of figured that he would be back because he was hanging around on the market for a while, and there wasn't a whole lot of suitors. The Eagles still need two defensive ends, really. So it made sense. Barnett's still pretty young. There's a lot of familiarity there, and I mean, he doesn't offer a ton of upside. He'll never be a double-digit sack guy, but when you look at what the Eagles currently have at defensive end, they needed bodies in a big way. And now you go into the draft with, not suddenly having a cupboard that's completely barren, outside of Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham.
Yeah, and Derek Barnett, I think if he doesn't play as many snaps as he did last year, has some value. Though I think the problem to me, Andrew, was Barnett had to play so much because of the Graham injury and because of other guys being unavailable, that him being on the field so much was really what hurt the Eagles, not specifically him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, Derek Barnett's somebody that's had some untimely penalties and discipline issues, but I mean, I think he can be productive and help them. Now, do I think he's a starting player? No, I think he's probably going to, slide in as a third end. but now it gives them, the Eagles, an opportunity where their hands aren't necessarily tied in that they have to draft, multiple pass rushers in this draft. I think now you can take a stud edge rusher in the first round, and then if the opportunity presents itself and you see some good value on day 2 or 3, you can strike and get another one there. But now you're not necessarily pressured to add 2 guys just for the sake of doing so.
The Eagles have 3 first-round picks, Andrew. How would you like if Howie Roseman called you right now and said, how should I prioritize what I do with those 3 picks? What do you think the Eagles how should they prioritize?
Well, I think with 15, if it's me, I'm taking probably Devontae Wyatt. If Jordan Davis isn't there, you gotta shore up those trenches, because especially in today's NFL, the defensive tackle position, getting pushed from the interior and really affecting the quarterback and collapsing the pocket and moving him off his spot, even if they don't get home and get that sack, it's so invaluable to what defenses do. And it opens up, a can of worms and it gets everybody else involved, especially on the back end, forcing throws and things of that nature. I would probably go D tackle, then I would go edge rusher, and then I'd probably grab a corner.
You mentioned Davis. One guy I was talking about yesterday before I let you go, I would love if the Eagles landed Walker from Georgia. I think that guy, I feel like he fits what Gannon wants to do with those mixed formation and the variety of things that he wants to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was actually someone that I put, I believe, at 15 on my mock draft 2.0 for InsideTheBirds.com. And I really like his athleticism. 6'5", 270. And I've mentioned to Mike before, he has the ability to stay at 270 and play edge, or he can play up to 290 and give them some looks on the interior. And both him and Milton Williams would pair really nicely for, the foreseeable future, and 2 guys that offer positional versatility. And again, we talked about having that optionality, and Walker would give them that. And I think that his lateral agility and just some of the things he's able to do and his movements and his burst off the line at that size is really enticing. So I think that probably you might see a guy like Walker, or you could see one of those another Georgia lineman like Jordan Davis in the mix there as well.
He's Andrew DeCecco. Give him a follow on Twitter at @DeCecco NFL. Check out all of his coverage of the Eagles and the NFL draft over at InsideTheBirds.com. He was at Penn State Pro Day today, and he joined us on the phone here on Football at 4 on 97.3 ESPN. Andrew, appreciate the time today, and enjoy the draft process. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Sounds good, man. Have a good one.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app. 4 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you by PropSwap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bet, take your profit. Find out how at PropSwap.com or by downloading the PropSwap app today. Still to come, Keith Smith from Spot Track. We'll talk some NBA and Sixers with him coming up at 4:40. But on the other side, we will check in with JR from WagerPro.com and the Wager Pro app.
There's only one place for live sports and sports talk in South Jersey. Oh, yeah! Your sports station is 97.3 ESPN.
It's time for the madness of hoops. Real sports bettors use the free PropSwap app to find the best deals on all their favorite teams. Every tournament, PropSwappers make thousands of dollars by simply buying and selling college basketball teams. And the best part is, you can buy and sell on PropSwap without ever leaving your couch. Now is the time to find those Cinderellas while the odds are high. Jump on the PropSwap app, buy a handful of tickets, and enjoy buckets of cash and all the moments of madness. Cinderella stories happen every year, so download the free PropSwap app today and make sure you're holding great ticket to the big dance. It's easy. If you see a ticket you like but think the price is too high, you can even submit a bid for a price you think is fair. Then buy it. The PropSwap app even has exclusive fantastic features like filtering listed tickets based on best value, a free activity feed to stay in the know with all the big sales.
Join the real sports bettors on PropSwap today and PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app. PropSwap, where America buys and sells sports bets.
Why is it that every March, everyone's either a basketball bracketologist expert or 100% Irish? Not that there's anything wrong with the two. All you need to know this March is at Matt Blatt Kia in Egg Harbor Township or Toms River. If you have a job clearing $350 per week, you could be approved with 0 down, 0.9% financing for 60 months, or $1,000 cash back at Matt Blatt Kia on every clearly marked new Kia in stock. Stuck in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. And don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. $1,705 per $1,000 for 60 months. $1,000 off all 2022 stickers. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 4/6/2022. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Happy Friday, Baja.
That's Vanessa from the new movie Fry Again. She lives in a cheesy time loop because
Nacho fries never leave the menu.
smart. Unfortunately,
She's violating the Nacho Fries limited timeline.
that's the villain. He's trying to kick Vanessa out of the time loop.
Say goodbye to Friday!
Can Vanessa evade the villain and eat nacho fries forever?
I'll never leave Friday!
She thinks so. Nacho fries are back at Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only. Contact local store for hours and participation which vary.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. So you need to change your oil. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Daily Protection or Valvoline Max Life High Mileage Motor Oil with an STP oil filter, plus an STP air filter or cabin air filter for just $36.99. Visit one of our 6,000 stores or order from AutoZone.com for same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Some people are easily moved.
Wasn't that just the saddest movie ever?
Whatever. Others, not so much.
Oh, look at the puppies!
Just dogs, but smaller, so what? But even those who aren't easily moved,
Look, your long-lost brother's been found.
oh, hi Mike, can be moved by us. Yeah, we're that good.
Use Clark's Moving and Storage in Rio Grande for your next local or long-distance move. Visit Clark's Moving and Storage online at clarksmoving.net.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
With South Jersey information you need to know, I'm Vin Avenue. The Ocean County Prosecutor's Office has teamed up with Resilient Minds on the Front Lines to donate 35 pieces of retired body armor vests to Ukraine. Influenza activity across the Garden State has spiked up to high levels in North Jersey and moderate levels in most parts of Central and South Jersey. And the Cape May County Zoo has just announced the birth of an infant ring-tailed lemur. Get more South Jersey information right now on our app. Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow has your forecast. Next.
Has this ever happened to you? My friend was telling me about his new pair of headphones, so I looked them up online. Now, everywhere I go is a creepy ad for those headphones I looked at one time. I hate that feeling like I'm being watched. I got DuckDuckGo and saw a difference right away. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. It's that simple. Take back your privacy online with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. We really needed the rain. We really don't need the big cool down that'll follow the rain into early next week. So things will turn wet one more time tonight. Low temperature around 48 degrees. Showers wrap up along the coast tomorrow morning, then turning into a nice day. Breaks the sun, breezy and mild, high of 62. A few showers on Saturday, otherwise clouds and sun, high of 55. Only 47 Sunday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Tyndall Auto Plaza has the area's largest selection of pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models, with over 170 pre-owned vehicles on their huge 100-acre lot. Everything from sporty coupes to SUVs to trucks. Tyndall offers the area's best buying experience, easy and hassle-free, with 60 years of customer satisfaction and community service. Discover why Tyndall customers are so loyal. Shop for your next pre-owned vehicle at Tyndall Auto Plaza, exit 10 of the Parkway, Stone Harbor Boulevard, or online at KindleAutoplaza.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Thursday afternoon on 97.3 ESPN FM live at the Matt Black Kia Studios. March Madness is back tonight. Sweet 16 action. You can hear it all right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. tonight and tomorrow night. And of course, we got to talk about it with JR from WagerPro.com and the WagerPro app. Sweet 16 is here. NBA is hot and heavy. JR, how you doing today?
I'm doing outstanding, Josh. I appreciate you having me on. And as usual, guys, I come bearing huge gifts. I've got my college basketball tournament game of the year going down tonight. It is a dog that's going to win outright, and it's absolutely free right now on the 30-second message. Call now, take advantage of this winner, and get in with Wager Pro. 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733. It's simple. You dial that toll-free number, 800-499-FREE. Listen to a short 30-second message, no strings attached, no credit card needed. Call, listen to the message, and we're going to win. And I mean win easily, outright, and it's absolutely free. Call that number, 800-499-3733, and we're doing it because, guys, we want to make you money. We want you to see the information at work, and we want you also to understand money management is where it's at. Yes, we'll win this one game for you, but if you get in with us, we're talking about picking up anywhere from 15 to 25 units between now and Sunday. Check it out for yourself. This one's on me. Free. 800-499-3733.
Hey, Jared, if I could focus in on that word money management you mentioned, because, I know a lot of people right now, they might be emotionally betting this time of year. People couldn't bet St. Peter's in New Jersey for the first two rounds. Now it's on the line. 70% of the bets are smashing St. Peter's. A lot of people love Villanova. But to me, that's a lot of emotional betting, it sounds like. It is not always smart money management.
You're absolutely spot on. I couldn't have said that better myself, quite frankly. I mean, with what we've been seeing out there, and this is one of the reasons why I tell guys, don't fill out a bracket, because then you get married to teams. It's just like in the bowl games. When you fill out, your bowl pool, you get married to these teams, and you don't follow the money, and you don't follow some of the injuries and some of the things that might happen between, the game that they played over the weekend and the game the following Thursday or Friday. That's all to be considered when you're betting these games, and that's why you definitely should never get emotionally attached to a team, unless maybe it's your alma mater and you want to just continue to go as heavy as possible on your team. I get that. But, when it comes down to it, when it comes to making money, then you need to be smart. You need to be disciplined. And that's one of the things that we bring to the table at Wager Pro. And you're right. The public is pounding St. Peter's. That line actually is still sitting at around 12.5, because I believe strongly that you've got a lot of what we call the ones and twos. Those are the guys that, mainly lose money to the sports book, that are coming in droves and betting on the underdog, which is usually a bad sign. But Purdue, I think they've only covered 2 games out of their last 11. So, it's not like they've been red hot. But at the same time, that 12.5, it's a lot of points. I just feel like they match up well. So we'll see. When the time comes, I'm going to pull the trigger based on the money that's coming in on that game. And guys, money management really is everything. Knowing when to press, knowing when to pull back, and having someone in your corner when you lose a game or two, being able to keep you focused is really key to being successful betting games.
The other part of the tournament, JR, is we know about the Blue Bloods, the Dukes, the Kansas, the North Carolinas. People love what they're familiar with, and that's another danger, is it not?
Definitely. But at the same time, you do in a lot of cases, look, you want to try to stay, one thing that is very consistent for the most part in college basketball is great coaches seem to win. Now, you've got some really great coaches that are left in the tournament, and then you got some coaches you don't know about. So, that's one of the things I think that guys don't key in on as much is, the man in charge. Because let's face it, the one making the decision, knowing when to call the timeout, who to put the ball in the hands of at the right time, really does come into a big, big play in the NCAA tournament.
All right, JR, before we let you go, we always get a free pick for the night from you before we let you go. What is it?
All right, we're going to actually switch it a little bit here. We're going to go right back to the NBA. The NBA give you a free pick every week, and all we do is dominate. It's been a total. We are 6-0 in the NBA totals that I've given out on air, and we're going to stay with it. And I'm going to tell you right now, this one is going under. Okay, Bulls Pelicans opened up at around 227 to 227.5. It's all the way down to 224. Public's betting the over. This game's going way under. Go 224 under Bulls Pelicans for your free pick. But guys, the big information is in the tournament. I've got my underdog tournament game of the year absolutely free. Call the number now. Get it free. Let us make you money and then get in with us. I mean, seriously, get in. We're going to make you money. 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733. Be sure to download the app. And, guys, go out there and make some money.
He's JR, wagerpro.com and the Wager Pro app. JR, have a great weekend, my man. Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app. This hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you by AC Airport. Plan your spring break getaway now. Create memories to last a lifetime. Start with nonstop flights from Atlantic City to Cancun, San Juan, and Miami. Book your low-cost flight at Spirit.com. We're going to get back to the NBA coming up next. Keith Smith from Spot Track will join us. You know, JR just gave out a free pick about the NBA. We got to start with Keith next because the Sixers are 1.5 games behind the Heat. Them, the Bucks, and the Celtics. So on the other side, we're going to ask Keith Smith, NBA insider, which of those three teams is most likely to catch Miami, and should we be concerned about Miami after their kerfuffle during the timeout yesterday between Butler, Spoelstra, and Udonis Haslem? All that and more with Keith Smith, NBA insider, coming up next. And then at 5:25 tonight, Bob Wankel from Crossing Brawl Talk Phillies with him as well. And we will get back to your thoughts and comments on the text board at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Keep them coming in. 609-403-0973 is the text board. And you can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City.
From the first four to the final four. Whoa! Listen to the NCAA tournament on 97.3 ESPN.
The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and get you back on the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Driving happy with Febreze car.
You're driving home when, oh no, you hit the longest red light in town. What's this? You're smiling because your car smells amazing. You just installed a Febreze car vent clip. Ha ha! 5 weeks ago. With up to 40 days of consistent Febreze scent, those lights can stay red for as long as they'd like.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
When was the last time everyone agreed on what's for dinner? You want ramen, they want pizza. Thankfully, there's something for everyone on the DoorDash app. For a limited time, get 50% off and 0 delivery fees on your first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code ORDERNOW50. That's 50% off up to a $12 value and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you enter promo code ORDERNOW50. That's promo code ORDERNOW50. Subject to change, terms apply. Get more from your neighborhood.
Parkview RV.
It's that time of year again. Wanderlust sets in, and you feel it in your bones. It's time to hit the road, but not before you hit Parkview RV with their incredible 2.5-acre expansion. 8 acres of the hottest names in recreational vehicles: Northern Light, Salem, Durango, Forest River, Columbus, Winnebago, Lance, Thor, and many more. And featuring the new A-Liner, the newest look in RVs, sleek, contemporary. And yours for just over $100 a month. That's right, just over $100 a month. With the low prices Parkview RV is famous for on an amazing selection of new and pre-owned motorhomes, fifth wheels, travel trailers, towables, truck campers, and pop-ups. The selection is unprecedented, and so are the savings at Parkview RV, the largest RV dealer on the peninsula and in the entire tri-state area. Spring is in the air, so check out Parkview RV, Route 13 in North Smyrna, across from Delaware's only rest area. Parkview RV, home of the great deal. Based on 180 months and 5.99% APR.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze fruit on the go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Call Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out their best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
This week on RVER, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
Hey, Chief, we got a damaged RV on its way to the OR.
Well, that sounds like a job for the new head of RV surgery.
Wait, are you promoting me?
Congrats, Martinez.
That RV's flatlining.
Well, that sounds like the job for the new head of nursing.
So you're just promoting everyone now?
Yeah, kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
When your RV really needs saving, Progressive has you covered. See if you could save with a leader in RV insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms.
Hey folks, Rick Mason here from WagerPro.com. Guys, we just picked up late-breaking information on Villanova, Michigan. Call this number. It's absolutely free, and it's on a recorded message. The point spread winner of Villanova, Michigan, absolutely free. 1-800-499-3733. That's 1-800-499-3733. That's 1-800-499-FREE. Absolutely free. The point spread winner of Villanova, Michigan. Guys, this razor sharp, late breaking information is second to none. The best in the business. Bet the Wager Pro side right now on Villanova, Michigan, and we will not let you down. 1-800-499-3733. That's 1-800-499-FREE. That's 800-499-3733. Make sure you download the Wager Pro app for more information like this. But right now, win and win big with WagerPro.com.
We're out of the brand name, but we do have the generic version of that.
Serene's Pharmacy can't keep up with allergy season.
Who's next in line?
They need certified technicians to alleviate the headache.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry for the wait. We'll have your prescription filled soon. I need some help.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and get you back on the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
With basketball season in full swing and UFC every weekend, it's time for you to experience sports betting done right at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City Casino and Resort. Get in on all the games you love at the FanDuel Sportsbook, located right off the Atlantic City Boardwalk. The retail sportsbook features 5 betting windows, a large video wall, 20 self-service betting kiosks, and much more. Get your game face on and score big when you bet with FanDuel Sportsbook only at Bally's Atlantic City Casino and Resort. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Filling in for Mike Gill on a Thursday edition of the show. We'll get back into the NBA now. Keith Smith from Spot Track, NBA Insider. Ask him about what's going on, because right now the Eastern Conference is razor thin. And it's not just because Kyrie is going to be able to play on Sunday at home. It's because the Sixers, the Bucks, and the Celtics are all 1.5 games behind the number 1 seed, Miami Heat. And there's about 10 games to go for every team in the league. Keith Smith joins us right now on 97.3 ESPN. Keith, how you doing today?
Sorry about that. I need to learn how to take my phone off mute. Sorry, Josh.
Well, I was first double checking. I didn't do something wrong. So
no, this was all me. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you here, and I'm glad you're off mute now. So, Keith, obviously the Eastern Conference is the conference a lot of people are talking about right now. Of the 3 teams that are sitting behind Miami, the Sixers, the Bucks, and the Celtics, does any one of those 3 you think have the best chance to steal that one seed from Miami?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think they all have pretty good chances because the Heat just aren't playing so hot right now. But if you catch Philadelphia on the wrong night, they don't look like they're overly engaged or trying to push up the standings too much. And Milwaukee, they're probably the team I would give the best chance to, just because I think that they have done pretty well. Boston's got a pretty challenging schedule down the stretch, including 3 road games in a row at Milwaukee, at Chicago, and at Memphis to close the season. Now, those look maybe tough today, and who knows what they'll look like in, a couple weeks here. But yeah, if I was going to give it to anybody, I'd say Milwaukee, but I do think all 3 of them have a pretty good chance.
Let's dig a little deeper on the Sixers, because the Sixers are a conundrum, honestly. Sunday, they blow a 16-point lead, lose to Toronto. Monday, Embiid and Harden don't play, and they beat the Miami Heat, and they out-rebound the Heat, even though the Sixers are one of the worst rebounding teams in the NBA. And then last night, LeBron doesn't play, and I'm not trying to be mean, but they had to hang on to win. It wasn't like they were dominating the Lakers. So what do we do with the Sixers at this point?
Yeah, it's weird. They're almost they're carrying themselves like a team that has won a championship already, or feels like everything's locked up and they just got to get into the playoffs healthy. And that's not a bad goal to have, obviously, getting there healthy. But when you kind of look at it, it's like, you haven't won anything yet. Let's try to really take this a little bit more serious. I just think right now they're in this still that feeling out phase of how do we make this work? What are rotations going to be, and those kind of things. And I think that combined with the fact that a couple of their guys are vets who have been around the block a few times, it's added together, and you're kind of getting this up and down play.
When you think about the guy who's the epicenter of a lot of this conversation, I've said before that, if the Sixers don't, get to the conference finals, don't get the NBA finals, no one's going to blame Embiid. They're all going to blame Harden and Doc Rivers and everybody else. And Doc Rivers keeps saying he wants Harden to be aggressive. And I don't know if people understand that what that means, because the people, they're like, no, Harden needs to pass the ball. But, Doc seems to be under the impression that passing the ball and scoring are both parts of being aggressive.
Yeah, and they absolutely can be. I think he just wants James Harden not to play passive. I think he wants him to play like he did when he was in Houston, not necessarily quite like he did for a lot of his Brooklyn tenure, where it was, hey, I got to fit in with 2 other guys here. I think Doc is looking at it and saying, Joel Embiid's going to get his. We're going to make sure that happens, whether that's through set plays or just the natural flow of things. And I think what he's looking for is for James Harden to get out there and, hey, be on the attack, get downhill, do the thing. I think what's been missed a little bit, and this has been about now the second year in a row, maybe even a third year, James Harden is not the same guy he was 3-4 years ago, where he's not great at putting the ball on the floor and getting by people anymore. And that inability to cause separation now, that's starting to show a little bit more. And now teams are starting to realize, hey, as long as we don't reach in and foul him, we can probably defend him and play pretty good. So he's not, it's not that he's a bad player by any means, but I think what Doc Rivers is asking to do, I just don't know that that's necessarily in him to do that, especially in, playing 40 minutes in a game or anything like that anymore. I think he's got to pick and choose his spots a little bit.
James Harden's not the MVP guy he was years ago, but he's still a top tier player in this league, right? It's not like, he's like washed or anything. I think it's the thing that people don't, it's like people want him to be either the MVP guy or he's a bum. And it's like, no, there's an in between there, right, Keith?
Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely on it. It's you don't need to be a guy who you look at and say, man, this guy is, one of the top 2-3 players in the league, which he was for a number of years in Houston. But that doesn't mean that he's also terrible either. He's still, a very good player, an all-star level guy. And he's a guy who I think when you get into next year with a full season, hopefully he's happier. You may see him even get back to being an all-NBA level guy, which is a top 15 to 20 player in the league. But it's just, you're not seeing the dominant force that he once was anymore. And I think some of that is injuries and age, and then quite frankly, usage over the years have sapped him of some of that ability to be the guy you can throw to and say, hey, for 45 minutes tonight, you're going to dominate and take over this game and run everything through you. I just don't know that he's that guy, but that's why you have him paired with a Joel Embiid, because they should be able to bring that together to at least some extent.
Keith Smith from Spot Track joining us right here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Thursday edition. Sixers win last night, back in action tomorrow versus the Clippers, and then Sunday versus the Suns. Keith, I mentioned Miami earlier. Do we read anything into the kerfuffle yesterday, or was that just heat culture boiling over?
Yeah, I don't know about the whole heat culture propaganda. I don't know if that's really a thing, but I think to some extent at the end of a long season, these things do happen. I think, we all think about these guys are around each other all the time, more so now than it used to be years ago. Even though we don't have the same tight COVID protocols, it's still a little bit different than it used to be. But when you spend this much time together, things are going to flare up. Now, that said, it went on a little longer than I expected. Guys went at each other. Guys went at the coach. Players tried to break it up, and it continued. So that part, I don't know that is quite normal, that and some of the language that was used towards each other. I mean, at one point, it looked like everybody was just ready to, hey, let's call the rest of the game off and let's just handle this on the floor right now. That's a little strange. So that part, I've got, perked up. Let's see, what happens. That could be one of those things where we're talking a month from now, we're like, hey, remember when they almost all fought each other? And now look at, brought the team together and they're ready to go.
One of my favorite parts, though, was how at the end of everything, PJ Tucker starts cleaning up everything. He picks up Spoelstra's clipboard. He picks up somebody's towel. He just starts cleaning up after, like, he's like the maintenance guy. It's like, when did PJ Tucker become the cleanup man?
Yeah, I kind of liked that. I also liked there was a point when it was kind of really popping off that you could almost see Kyle Lowry say, I'm too old for this, and just let me get out of here. Like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm out. I'm walking off to the other end of the floor. I thought that was pretty funny too. So yeah, there's definitely some of that, that happens for sure, where you can tell there are some guys who they're ready to get involved, and there are other guys who are like, yeah, I'm out. This isn't for me.
Somebody asked me earlier who I think would win in a fight between Jimmy Butler and Udonis Haslem. I said I have to lean Haslem because he's got that older experience and old man strength. Yeah,
Udonis Haslem is one of the guys in the league who I don't think I'd want to mess around with very much. He's you don't carve out a 20-year career in the NBA as very much a role player without being around for a reason. And one of those reasons is you don't mouth off to Udonis Haslem because you're going to find yourself in a spot you didn't want to be in.
Keith, obviously part of the news today was New York City lifting the vax mandate that keeps guys like Kyrie from playing. Of course, as I explained earlier in the show, before, in the first hour, actually, that this had nothing to do with Kyrie. This was the fact that the Mets and the Yankees are big money in New York, and that the Mets owner, Steve Cohen, gave $1.5 million to the mayor's campaign run. So this was a baseball thing, but Kyrie is going to benefit from it. So what do you think is going to be the biggest benefit for the Nets now that Kyrie can play home games and also play the game in New York City with the Knicks?
Yeah, one thing I'll also add to that, too, is I heard that whether it be TV, film, or Broadway, there were a lot of people there who were also pushing, hey, we need to get this lifted because we're all missing out on some people and losing some money with this. But yeah, as far as we go with basketball, this is huge. This is, really becomes a game changer, because instead of the Nets having, kind of this, it was already going to be a tough path because they're coming in as a lower seed into the postseason. It was already going to be hard because their depth isn't quite what I think people think it is. And then you were going to have to factor in, we have to be two different teams, the team with Kyrie on the road and the team without him at home. Now, all of a sudden, that changes things in a big, big way, where it's Steve Nash can really spend these last couple weeks of this regular season locking into his rotations and figuring out the lineups that work and those kind of things. And that's really going to help them, going forward. And then obviously, just having a talent like Kyrie Irving, a guy who is, capable of doing the things he does on the floor every single game available to you, that is absolutely huge. So that really does change things quite a bit for the Nets. And they're already a team nobody really wanted to play in the first round after, hey, we had this great regular season. We're the number 1 or 2 seed. Great. Now we got to play Kevin Durant for 7 games. Now it's looking like you might have your hands full with Kyrie Irving too.
Here's the thing, Keith. Kyrie and Kevin Durant had great games last night. They lost to the Memphis Grizzlies without Ja Morant. So how much of last night was a sign that maybe Ben Simmons needs to figure out his back situation sooner than later, or how much was last night just Memphis being Memphis?
A lot more of the second than the first there. Memphis is really good. People keep pointing to, they're 15-2 without Ja Morant. We overrating Ja Morant. And I said this on Twitter. No, we're underrating the rest of the Grizzlies. They're really, really good. And that team is tough. And did they love that moment. Hey, we have our ESPN moment here. And ESPN did their, all access Grizzlies Day or whatever they were calling it, where everything was, based out of Memphis. And man, did they relish that of, hey, we're going to show you, this is who we are. And they took advantage of that. Now, for the Nets side, I think what we're seeing with them is Durant and Kyrie are both great. The rest of that roster has got some serious flaws. And you'd love to have Ben Simmons out there, but you're running out of time here. I know Steve Nash said, we'll put him in a playoff game, and even if we haven't played him in the regular season, we think it'd be okay. That just can't be. He's too unique of a player, the way you have to account for him offensively, to just throw him in a game without having any kind of practices or anything like that. So I think it's more likely than not we don't see him play this year, and then they kind of, whatever comes of this year comes, and then we're going to reset everything going into next year with this team, and that's how we're going to move it forward.
Follow him on Twitter at KeithSmithNBA. Check out all of his work over at SpotTrack, also the Front Office Show podcast. Keith Smith joins the Sports Bash every Thursday at 4:40 here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Keith, appreciate the time and the insight today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Yell here on a Thursday edition on 97.3 ESPN FM. Still to come, we'll be talking Phillies with Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad. And on the other side, we'll get to all of your texts at 609-403-0973 on text board. A ton of texts have come in the last hour. I'll squeeze in one here before we run out of real estate on the hour. Tom from Margate says, hey, Josh, I'll be wearing my quarter zip Wildcat jacket at Chickies and Pete's for the Villanova, Michigan game. What's your opinion on whether the Cats win? That's from Tom in Margate. Well, here's the thing, Tom. I think Nova wins, but like Julian Edlow said from DraftKings earlier, I think it's going to be a close game because Michigan does present athletically some matchup issues for Nova. I think Nova pulls it out, but I think it's going to be maybe a little closer, a little bit uncomfortable by by maybe like the 2-minute mark of the game when Nova finally seals it with some free throws. We'll get more of your texts and messages on the other side and keep coming in at 609-403-0973. I'm Josh Hennig here on a Thursday afternoon filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Drive to the rim, floater good. It's the Sweet 16 on 97.3 ESPN. Experience the madness of the NCAA tournament only on 97.3 ESPN. All the buzzer beaters. For the win! All the upsets and all the big moments. March Madness on 97.3 ESPN. Brought to you by
Resorts Casino Hotel, home to DraftKings Sportsbook. Visit resortsac.com. It's time for the madness of hoops. Real sports bettors use the free PropSwap app to find the best deals on all their favorite teams. Every tournament, PropSwappers make thousands of dollars by simply buying and selling college basketball teams. And the best part is you can buy and sell on PropSwap without ever leaving your couch. Now is the time to find those Cinderellas while the odds are high. Jump on the PropSwap app. Buy a handful of tickets and enjoy buckets of cash and all the moments of madness. Cinderella stories happen every year, so download the free PropSwap app today and make sure you're holding great tickets to the big dance. It's easy. If you see a ticket you like, but think the price is too high, you can even submit a bid for a price you think is fair. Then buy it. The PropSwap app even has exclusive fantastic features like filtering listed tickets based on best value, a free activity feed to stay in the know with all the big sales. Join the real sports bettors on PropSwap today and PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app. PropSwap, where America buys and sells sports bets.
Buzzer beaters and bracketologists, leprechauns and green beer. One more nor'easter snowstorm. You know they're going to happen in March. You just don't know when.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. Every day, all month at Matt Blatt Nissan. New 2022 Titan trucks. $5,000 off. Plus, AJ, the trade man, will get you more for your trade. So you can drive a brand new Nissan with 0 down and pay 0% interest on every new Nissan in stock. Lease the all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier S 4x4 King Cab. Just $279 per month with 0 security deposit. Plus, with a Matt Blatt Nissan Peace of Mind 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. Equity will be refinanced into the vehicle. 36 months, 10,000 out for your lease. Plus tax tag and $479. Offers can be combined. Selling price MSRP 6140. Then NN 532176. MSRP 33940. Then NN 632542. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 4/6/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township.
Okay, so we got the chorizo dumplings, the cucumber empanadas.
Sarah's food truck is popping off.
Come on, guys, let's pick it up, all right?
But if she doesn't find a new chef, her truck will be stuck.
Carl quit this morning, so Jessica, I'm going to need you on the fryer.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Coach, we need to score. What's the call?
We're gonna wing it. We're calling the pick.
The pick?
Yeah, the one, the only, the original Piccalilli Inn to score some of South Jersey's best wings and homestyle favorites.
But, Coach, it's the middle of the game.
Pre-game, post-game, during the game, the pick's wings, tails, and ears are always the right call. They're right on Route 206 in Chemung, or check them out on Facebook. Now, who wants mild and who wants hot?
The Piccalilli Inn.
I had a nighttime routine for my frequent heartburn. I would drink milk, I would sleep upright with more pillows, but that painful burning stayed. So I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine. With just one pill in the morning, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn day and night. Now I have a new nighttime routine. I call it sleeping.
Block heartburn all day and all night with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online.
Nice. How'd you pull that off?
Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine.
So I guess there were a lot?
Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers.
That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here.
Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
With all the sports we have, every time of the year is the best time of the year.
And the crowd just buzzing with excitement.
On 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig here on the Thursday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We are live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Mike Gill on vacation. He'll be back Monday, filling back into this seat right here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget the NCAA tournament is tonight, 7 p.m. Coverage of the Sweet 16 begins here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Also still to come, In about 25 minutes from now, Bob Wankel from Crossing Broadway is going to talk more about the Phillies. Odubel Herrera out the next 4 to 6 weeks. Well, there goes your platoon between Herrera and Vierling in center field. Does that mean that Hazley is now part of the platoon? Do they play Vierling more? Or are the Phillies just fooling themselves and everyone else right now with this shenanigans that they're doing with this team? We'll ask Bob all those questions coming up here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Also, get back to your thoughts and comments on the text board at 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Also, you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. I did want to bring up the breaking news involving Desean Watson, I should say. According to multiple reports, the Brazoria County grand jury has declined to indict Browns quarterback Desean Watson. The DA's office confirms statement from the DA's office is coming. It seems like whatever happened with Desean Watson and these women, and this is a legal statement. This is not a personal opinion. This is not a whatever you want to call it. This is just me trying to be objective here. It's starting to sound more and more that what happened between Desean Watson and those women is less of a criminal matter and more of a civil issue. Because just to humor me, folks, for a second to explain this, for those who don't remember, or if you haven't watched Law and Order SVU in a while, in order for you to be charged by a grand jury, you have to have a certain level of evidence they have to get. In order for you to receive a conviction in a criminal court of law, has to be beyond reasonable doubt. Okay, you have to have a certain level of evidence, a certain level of proof that somebody did something. You can't just accuse somebody of something and then be charged or convicted of something. It's not that simple. So, whereas in a civil case, it just has to be, there has to be just enough evidence that something bad or wrong happened here. That's why, Judge Judy, for example, it can be, some circumstantial evidence gets Judge Judy to, hit the hammer and say, all right, you got to pay this much money to this person, get out of my court. It doesn't need to be beyond a reasonable doubt. It can be a little he said, she said thing going on here. So now it doesn't mean that what Desean Watson did, that he's being accused of, didn't happen. It just means the evidence has been presented is not strong enough for him to be criminally charged and it's to go before a criminal court of law. Again, two different things, not all one and the same. But as I've said before, where there's smoke, there is fire. And where there is fire, you have to ask who started the fire and why. And when you find out who started the fire and why, you will understand better why there is smoke. We still don't understand what exactly happened between Desean Watson and these women that led them to want to bring these civil and criminal charges against him. I'm not saying Desean Watson is a bad guy, but what I am saying is when someone accuses you of something and there's 1, 2, 5, 10, 22 women saying this about you, at some point, maybe you're part of the problem. Maybe it's not everybody else. Maybe it's not always the other person, okay? Again, I'm not accusing Desean Watson of anything particular. I'm just saying for there to be this much of a mess around him, for us to be hanging on what a grand jury's going to do, it's just a bad look for him. It's a bad look for the league. And it's a bad look for the Browns to give this guy $200 million of guaranteed money when we don't even know how many games he's going to play this year. So, as I said earlier, I think the Eagles and the Eagles specifically kind of lucked out. They they missed a landmine when it came to Desean Watson and Tyreek Hill for very different reasons. I think that this Desean Watson thing is going to continue to be a cloud hanging over everybody's head. And I think that the Dolphins gave up way too much to go out and get Tyreek Hill. And I'm not interested in selling my franchise's future and draft picks for a wide receiver. And I'm not interested in selling my soul just to try to win football games when I live in a world where Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer, Nick Foles have all won Super Bowls. Joe Flacco. None of these guys go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but they all got Super Bowl rings. You can win in the NFL without having the best player at quarterback. And there's a huge difference to me still between the Deshaun Watson situation and Michael Vick. Michael Vick went to jail, served his time, then came back to play in the NFL. Deshaun Watson's trying to continue his career in the midst of all this legal mumbo jumbo that is taking a year to iron itself out. I have way too many questions about the situation. I understand Deshaun Watson thinks he did nothing wrong, but again, perception becomes reality. And if 22 women think you're a sleazebag, maybe there is something a little wrong with you. All right, back to the text board, 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973 to get on the conversation. Texter about Deshaun Watson chimes in, it's just my opinion, but I believe these women are full of it. Probably tried to date him, start a relationship, and he probably split and they didn't like that. It's hard for me to say 22 women are all full of it because the circumstances around the accusation of Deshaun Watson, if you read them, are just so strange. You know, he's contacting these women on social media, asking them to come out and give him a massage, and then supposedly he's coming on to them during or after the massage. I've never heard of anyone who needs 22 different women to give him a massage at different points in time. Usually the way it works is it's like a haircut. You find somebody you trust with your hair and you get your hair cut with that person every time. The same thing with a masseuse or a massage therapist. You find somebody you trust and, that's it. That's the person you always go to. So that, first of all, is suspicious to me. Second of all, I'm sure that some of these women felt betrayed, led on by Watson. But usually a woman, what she'll do is she doesn't go to a lawyer and bring civil charges against you. She pulls a social media campaign against you saying, I dated Deshaun Watson and this is what happened, kind of thing. It's like the whole Antonio Brown thing with the lady from social media who said, I was with Antonio Brown and I had COVID and all this stuff. And people were like, oh, what's going on here? That's usually what a woman who feels like she's been shortchanged does in the 21st century. She airs the dirty laundry out on social media. They don't all bring civil charges. And that's where I'm a little like head scratching here. It feels like we've crossed a line from these 20 women are mad that Deshaun Watson didn't date them to all of you are accusing him of basically being a scumbag. It's hard for me to believe that all the women are full of it. Because if Deshaun Watson was just they were trying to date him, or he was just trying to whatever with them, why ask them all to come give him a massage? Like, this is getting into like creepy Donald Sterling, Daniel Snyder, kind of weird stuff. I'm trying to keep it PG-13 for those out there who have kids or sensitive ears out there. But, some of this stuff is really starting to come off as I just have trouble believing that it's all these women are just putting charges out there. Like, it just sounds weird. Like I said, if they were Deshaun Watson did this, why don't you just put it on social media? Why is it, hey, Deshaun Watson did this to me. You can destroy somebody's reputation with social media. We've seen it before. We've seen it people because of politics. We've seen people because of a lot of different things. I mean, again, we talked about the COVID stuff with the mandates in New York earlier today. There is a narrative about Kyrie Irving on social media that is completely inaccurate, okay? About why he didn't want to get the vaccine. He didn't want to get the vaccine because he doesn't like modern medicine. He's had bad experiences, him and his family. It's a personal medical decision for him. It's not I'm being a contrarian, but the general public in the cesspool that is social media believes that Kyrie is just a loser and he's a contrarian, he's a weirdo, So you can use social media to destroy somebody's reputation or uplift their reputation. I think that the reason why that these civil lawsuits are out there is because these women believe they have enough evidence and information to prove that Desean Watson did something. Now, obviously, it's not enough to convict him of a crime, but it's enough for them to at least get a high-powered lawyer who's willing to take on their case. These high-powered lawyers won't take on these cases just because. They do it because they can make money off of it. There's a part of me that wonders how many of these women actually even want to sue Desean Watson. Not every woman who talks to and dates an athlete wants the attention of the public. Some of these women just want to be left alone. So this lawyer may be just as much interested in the money side of it and maybe a little bit less interested in the criminal side of it. And maybe everything in his efforts is going toward getting money for these women. So he makes money getting a piece of that money, getting that percentage, whatever it's 5-10% of what it would be. I don't know exactly what the lawyer's fee is. I'm not on the in those conversations, right? A lot of athletes do a lot of things that we will never know about or we'll never be able to verify, right? And I always say for every athlete we know for sure that did something, there's probably 3 others who we may never hear about until years later about what did or didn't happen. I mean, you ever watch a Football Life on NFL Network or a 30 for 30 on ESPN and you sit back and you think, wait, what happened? And you're thinking, if I knew that back then that this happened, my opinion would be different about this person. So, for the 22 women who are accusing Desean Watson of doing what he did, how many of them are not accusing him who were also, treated the same way? Again, I don't know what's true or what's not. I'm just saying that I'm not a fan of an organization handing over $200 million in guaranteed money to a guy just because he doesn't get criminal charges against him. There's a lot of people who don't go to jail who I want nothing to do with as a professional or personally. And I hate to say Desean Watson's looking like he falls in that category right now. Now, if he is cleared of every single civil charge or, 21 out of 22, then we can have a conversation about, okay, maybe this was all just a witch hunt and all about the money. But until then, I got to work with the information that I got. And like I said, if I'm an NFL organization, I don't want to sell my future for a wide receiver, and I don't want to sell my soul for a guy who apparently his personal business is too messed up that he can't keep it personal. I've been reading the Walter Payton book, Sweetness, and I got to tell you guys, Walter Payton may have been one of the greatest football players of all time, but personally, he was a twisted mess and kind of a loser. I mean, some of the things that he did, I think if I had a friend that did those things, I honestly might disown them. And it was excused because he's Walter Payton. And that's the position I come from. I'm not the morality police. I'm I'm just a kind of person where I believe you should treat people a certain way. I talked about John Clayton earlier this week of how he was a better human being than he was an NFL insider. You can be very good at your job and be a good person. I've never heard of a bunch of scandalous things happening with Joe Montana or Tom Brady. I've never heard a bunch of scandalous things happen with Emmitt Smith. But I've heard it with other athletes. So, to me, it's just I draw the line at certain things. And like I said, after reading the Walter Payton book, the biography, I got to say, I used to think Walter Payton was amazing and all this stuff. And he did a lot of amazing things. He did a lot of good for a lot of good people. But, man, there were some other things that he did that just makes your skin crawl, man. It's just really uncomfortable stuff. Like things that I would never do, things I would never consider doing, things like I said, if someone was a friend of mine, I'd call him out on it and be like, dude, I can't be friends with you. That's how you live your life. So, I mean, again, that's kind of my position. By the way, Tom from Margate helping us out here. I'm a personal injury trial lawyer. New Jersey contingent fees are 33% on the first $750,000. Some states allow lawyers to charge 40 to 50%. I didn't know it was that much. Wow. See, now I'm starting to wonder. See, now that makes me wonder, did the lawyer for the women sabotage the criminal case to make sure the civil case goes through so he can make money? Again, man, 33% on the first 750,000. That's more money than some people make in a year or 2 years or 3 years financially at their jobs. Good grief. All right, let me get a couple more texts in here before we hit the break. A little bit earlier in the show, message came in and says, Zach Pascal is a very underrated player. Not a big name, but he's reliable. He reminds me of Jason Avant. Not the most physically gifted player, but when you need a first down or a solid tough ball play, he will come through for you. It's interesting thing you say Jason Avant because he was on the show a few days ago, and Avant described Zach Pascal as a situational player who's a good blocker, but he's not a guy that fixes the Eagles' offense and makes that much better than it was last year. Listen, I think that Pascal is a good pickup for the Eagles. I just wish they would do more. There are guys on the market that they could have had. Now, obviously, Calvin Ridley being suspended for next year, that's out of the Eagles' hands. Allen Robinson chose to go to a Super Bowl winning team and get paid a lot of money and then come to Philadelphia and make a little less money. I can't really hate on the guy for that. Robert Woods, apparently, I was reading the article today, he really wants to play in Tennessee because who some of the guys are who are playing there. So, all right, I can't be mad at him for that. So I think the Eagles are just unlucky at this point. And Pascal, I just hope they're not settling for him. One more message that came in the last hour during our Eagles talk says, what would you set the line on Carson Wentz being the Eagles twice and playing all 17 games next year? I would set the odds at plus 400 because it's very rare for any team to sweep another team in their division. It's a very unlikely scenario. I don't see Wentz sweeping them. And I mean, I can see Wentz playing 16 to 17 games, but usually guys who are quarterbacks like him get banged up at some point, although he did play all the games last year. So we'll see. The bigger doubt I have is not him playing the 17 games. It's him being the Eagles twice. I don't see that happening. All right, coming up next, we'll get to the Phillies. Odubel Herrera out 4 to 6 weeks. What are the Phillies going to do in center field? We'll ask Bob Wankel from Cross and Broad next on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
From the first four to the final four. Whoa! Listen to the NCAA tournament on 97.3 ESPN.
Power Penny days are back just in time for spring at JCPenney, and a new season brings spectacular savings. Stock up on essentials for your wardrobe and your home through Sunday.
Why is it that every March, everyone's either a basketball bracketologist expert or 100% Irish? Not that there's anything wrong with the two. All you need to know this March is at Matt Blatt Kia in Egg Harbor Township or Toms River. If you have a job clearing $350 per week, you could be approved with 0 down, 0.9% financing for 60 months, or $1,000 cash back at Matt Blatt Kia on every clearly marked new Kia in stock. Stuck in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. And don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. $1,705 per $1,000 for 60 months. $1,000 off all 2022 Stingers. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 4/6/2022. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
As a dentist, I know what my patients are saying. She says her gums are irritated. Is there anything you can do? You can try new Crest Advanced Gum Restore. It detoxifies below the gum line to restore your gums back to health in just 7 days.
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. Have you ever cooked a really fine gourmet meal? Yeah, me neither. But I'm told it all comes down to the ingredients. And when I need ingredients to improve my car, the place I go is eBay Motors. Whether you roasted your last transmission, graded your current floor mats, or pureed your side view mirror on a lamppost, eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And by the way, if you recently fired up your grill, don't worry, eBay Motors has grills too. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
March is for nets and bets. Place your college basketball bets at DraftKings Sportsbook at Resorts Casino Hotel. DraftKings Sportsbook is the ultimate sports betting experience with massive ultra-high-definition TVs, 18 betting kiosks, and great game day drink specials. From prop bets to live in-game betting, DraftKings Sportsbook has it all. Voted 2021 Best Overall Sportsbook. Call ahead for VIP reservations. Visit resortsac.com for more information. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
With South Jersey information you need to know, I'm Vin Avenue. The Ocean County Prosecutor's Office has teamed up with Resilient Minds on the Front Lines to donate 35 pieces of retired body armor best to Ukraine. Influenza activity across the Garden State has spiked up to high levels in North Jersey and moderate levels in most parts of Central and South Jersey. And the Cape May County Zoo has just announced the birth of an infant ring-tailed lemur. Get more South Jersey information right now on our app. Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow has your forecast. Next.
Progressive presents Forced Metaphors about bundling your home and auto.
In sports, 3 goals is a hat trick. And when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, you get a hat trick of great savings and round-the-clock protection. So you might be thinking, wait, that's 2 things. A hat trick is 3. But in this metaphor, great savings counts as 2 goals, and so does round-the-clock protection. So it's like 4 goals, and that's more than 3. It's basic math.
Forced Metaphors, presented by Progressive. Bundle and protect today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. We really needed the rain. We really don't need the big cool down that'll follow the rain into early next week. So things will turn wet one more time tonight. Low temperature around 48 degrees. Showers wrap up along the coast tomorrow morning, then turning into a nice day. Breaks the sun, breezy and mild, high of 62. A few showers on Saturday, otherwise clouds and sun, high of 55. Only 47 Sunday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
South Jersey Advanced Health Solutions, South Jersey's premier clinic for allergy elimination and Lyme disease, effective treatment of chronic mold and all food and environmental allergies, and the only clinic in New Jersey to fully treat the red meat allergy known as alpha-gal, specializing in allergy elimination, Lyme disease, fertility, autoimmune disorders, adult and childhood ADD, ADHD, learning disabilities, insomnia, headaches, and all types of pain. Contact them today, 856-285-4788 to start feeling better, or visit them online at sjadvancehealth.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, being brought to you by AC Airport. Plan your spring break getaway now. Create memories to last a lifetime. Start with nonstop flights from Atlantic City to Cancun, San Juan, and Miami. Book your low-cost flight today at spirit.com. Well, in a very interesting week for the Phillies. This Nick Castellano says that he came to the Phillies because of Bryce Harper. Odubel Herrera ruins the Phillies platoon by being out for 4 to 6 weeks of the oblique strain. And Mickey Moniak's hitting home runs, which makes me very nervous. So to get into all that and more right now, Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad, Phillies beat reporter, joins us right now on 97.3 ESPN. Bob, how you doing today?
What's up, Josh? How are you, man? Good to see you. How's everything going?
It's going, man. You know, when I see Mickey Moniak hitting home runs, I get nervous, man. I'm nervous that somebody somewhere is going to be like, hey, he can play center field.
Yeah, it's interesting. Earlier this week, actually, his name was brought up, and they sort of said, you know, he's not a center field option. He's more of a corner outfielder at this point, the way that they're looking at him. I know why you're nervous, and I understand it. I think after last year, there were periods where he got very hot. The team said, you know, why not, given all their struggles in center field, and it certainly did not pan out. And that kind of necessitated the return of Odubel Herrera. So I don't think that the Phillies are going to necessarily get duped again on Mickey Moniak. Although that being said, you know, hey, you'd rather see him do it at this time of year than not do it. So maybe down the line he gets another crack at it. But I don't think that the Phillies are looking at this hot streak correlating into any meaningful time for him, you know, especially early on.
All right, good to know. Good to know. So let's get to what we do know, which is Odubel Herrera out 4 to 6 weeks, it looks like, which basically ruins the whole platoon thing with him and Vierling. So does that mean that Hazley becomes part of that platoon? Does that mean Vierling gets more at bats? What do you think is going to happen in center field?
Yeah, I think the short-term short-term answer here is probably going to be that Matt Vierling is going to take the bulk of the bats. And, you know, listen, now that you have a complete picture of what the Phillies have done with their lineup, if you just stick to strictly baseball and, you know, you look at Odubel Herrera for what he is in a platoon type of situation with Matt Vierling, you kind of have to like it from just a purely offensive baseball perspective. If Odubel Herrera is your 8th or 9th best hitter, and he's facing righties, which, you know, he had pretty good numbers against last season, especially late in the year over the last 2 months, not bad. Now, obviously, he goes down, and you're turning things over to a guy in very limited amount of time last year who showed tons of positives, good athleticism, could play an adequate center field. But, you know, trotting Matt Vierling out there 5-6 days a week, that's a little bit more of a scary proposition. You know, the platoon situation, you can buy a little bit and say, all right, yeah. But, you know, handing it over to him and saying, you know, you've got it for the first 3 weeks of the season, probably less than desirable situation, quite frankly.
Well, I mean, the whole situation is undesirable if you really want to get down to it, because, you know, there's reports out there the Phillies are interested in Kevin Kiermaier, but they're like, we don't want to spend that much money on him. We'll just do this in center field. And I just, you know, Bob, this defense is not going to be good this year. You know, Bohm's already getting errors in spring training. You know, Castellanos and Schwarber are never going to win a Gold Glove. So, you know, what do we do with this Phillies team?
So it's interesting. I guess I look at this a couple different ways. First of all, I'm a proponent of, you know, if you have an elite level offense, I'm willing to sacrifice defensive range, defensive efficiency, if the lineup is going to perform to the expectations that it has set upon it. You know, over 162 games, a premier offense performing at an elite level will more than compensate for a substandard defense. That being said, the offense has to perform that way. And you just wonder, like, I can deal with not having a ton of range in left field. I can deal with not having a premium center fielder. You know, you're not going to get the balls that plus defenders get to. Okay, I can live with that. But where I get nervous is what you're seeing now at third base again with Alec Bohm. I just don't know. I mean, the Phillies praise his work ethic. They talk about how badly he wants to improve. And you don't want to overanalyze, 3-4 spring training games, but Alec Bohm so far in a limited sample of what we've been able to see looks a lot like he did a year ago. And so I can live with poor outfield defense, and I'm willing to trade off for the offensive upside. But if they don't have third base right, that gets really scary, especially when you consider that they're limited at shortstop if Didi Gregorius wins the opening day job. And that's where Johan Camargo kind of comes into the situation here. Now they're talking about him potentially winning this job. He was very good with the Braves in 2018, had an over 800 OPS, can play a decent third base. And it just feels to me like the Phillies are getting away from Alec Bohm because they know, like, we can't have horrible defense there. We've got to be tight somewhere.
Well, the other thing is, and I said this the other day, Bob, they didn't get Matt Chapman, but I understand why. The Blue Jays gave up a stupid amount of prospects and like high level dudes to get him. So the Phillies don't have that kind of prospects in their system to just throw away. So I understand why they didn't get Matt Chapman, but you're right. The third base situation can't be some kind of like shoulder shrug emoji all year.
Yeah, it can't be. And, you mentioned Kevin Kiermaier earlier, and on paper, he makes a lot of sense for them because of he's a plus defender in center field. But when you look at his offense, and you don't have to have a thumper 1 through 9 in the lineup, but you look at his offense and, a little over 700 OPS. Like, he's a very marginal offensive player, and he's only played 130 games plus one time in his entire career. So if the asking price is going to be substantial in the Rays end, that's not something that I think that the Phillies are really in a spot to do. And that's kind of why I like, they go out and do the Schwarber deal, and I thought that was where they were going to stop. And then they decide to kind of force the issue a little bit and go back and get Castellanos. And I got to say, like, I like what they're doing because they don't have the farm system depth to trade off, so it's a win now, spend a lot mentality without forfeiting this minor league system that they're basically trying to make over on the fly. Like, if it requires, parting ways with a kid like Painter or Mick Abel, like I don't, that to me, that's a non-starter unless you're getting back a premier right now, multi-time all-star. And that's not what he is.
Bob Wankel, Phillies writer for Crossing Broad, joining us here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, you can follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Wankel CB. Bob, the other part of the Phillies I find interesting, as I mentioned before you came on, it's looking like Bryce Harper is the magnet for some of these guys who want to come here. And which is ironic because in a city where I don't remember the last time anybody actually wanted to come to the Phillies in the last 10 years, and now you have Castellanos and Schwarber basically like, yeah, Harper's my guy. I want to come here. To me, that's a big deal because it says that, you didn't just sign Bryce Harper, you're changing the perception of the organization.
Yeah, I think that Bryce Harper has been very aggressive here, and it kind of illustrates where the Phillies have been at for a few years now. He gets here in 2019, and everybody kind of thought the Phillies had arrived at that point. I mean, you go back to the beginning of that season, the park was full, expectations were huge. Phillies baseball is back after not being in the postseason for 8 years, and it hasn't materialized. 2019 was underwhelming. They bring in Joe Girardi. Everybody felt that was going to kind of just fix things. It did not. It did not in 2021 either. And I think that Bryce Harper's looking at this going, okay, this is year 4 now. I'm in my prime. JT Realmuto is in his prime. Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, like it's time to go right now. Like we can't just kind of keep sitting in this middle ground. And so I think that has kind of necessitated him probably telling the front office something that they already know, which is we're not good enough. We kind of seem like we don't have a plan. It's time to go, guys. And so I think that he kind of, urged, encouraged the front office, probably told them something that they already knew. I don't think that this was a shock to Dave Dombrowski, but then he took an active role in helping bring these guys in and having some conversations. And that's what he should do. If he's committed to this organization for another decade and he just watched his former team win a World Series a couple years back, I mean, I think he's got to be saying to himself, like, now's the time. Let's go, guys. And so he's kind of taking an active role in this thing.
When you think about where the team is now compared to last year, just overall, how much better are they? Like, is the team actually better than last year? Is it kind of the same? Like, what is a fair expectation? Because how Philly fans are right now, they're shaking their fists at the sky. I can't wait for opening day. But 2 weeks ago, we were all giving the middle finger to baseball. So, this thing can go up and down. So realistically, what are the Phillies? Are they better than last year?
There's a couple different ways to answer that. They're better than they were last year. This is a better offense than it was last year. It's a much deeper lineup. There's more thump in the lineup. I think that there's a trickle-down effect. When you add guys like Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos, it means that JT Realmuto isn't your second best option in terms of run production once Rhys Hoskins goes down. Everybody takes on a little bit less. Not only are you lengthening out a lineup, but it's not on Bryce Harper to play at an MVP level for 2.5 months to drag this team across the finish line. Like it just gives them And I'll tell you what, even in preparation, if you're an opposing pitcher, you're an opposing pitching staff, you're going in and you're facing the Phillies and you're like, man, like last year, there was no leadoff. They were horrendous from the leadoff spot. I think they had like a 302 on base percentage from their leadoff spot last year. That's terrible. Now you're looking at a guy like Kyle Schwarber, who's probably going to come in and fill that role. He's like a 360, 370 on base percentage guy. So now you're going to have, you remember the conversations we used to have about Bryce Harper? Like, well, he's only got, 37 RBIs and he's got, 13 home runs. He's not knocking in any runs. Well, the reason why he wasn't was because nobody was on base ahead of him. So now you've fixed and you've rectified a glaring weakness at the top of your lineup. You are very deep in the back end of the lineup now. You have power throughout. And, to be honest with you, the thing that Dave Dombrowski touched on yesterday, which is something I've been just harping on now for years, is that this team for years now, since even Bryce Harper's been here, there's just been something lacking from a chemistry standpoint. There's been a missing edge, a lack of a killer instinct. How many times, Josh, over the past few years have the Phillies had that series against the Diamondbacks, or they go down to Miami and they just can't seem to get up for it? And I think that there's something to be said for that. That doesn't just happen because, the Marlins play the Phillies tough. It happens because you let your guard down, because you think you're better, because you think you're just going to coast. And guys like Schwarber that have that pedigree, that postseason pedigree, guys like Castellanos that have some dog in them. And I mean that in a good way, not in like a lazy way, but like they're fierce, they're tenacious. That I think is going to help solve some of the personality deficiencies and some of that edge that the Phillies have been missing. So when I step back and I look at it, I think they're a lot better. That doesn't mean there's not concerns. Defense, starting pitching depth. If any of these guys go down, they're in a world of trouble. And, until the bullpen isn't a bottom 5 bullpen in baseball, you kind of have to hold your breath.
Speaking of the bullpen, I feel like I keep having to explain to people that the bullpen is not horrible. I mean, I keep getting people like every few days, they're like, the Phillies are going to blow 40 games no matter what. And I'm like, probably not. Like, last year was so bad. I just feel like between Brad Hand, Corey Knebel, Familia, and Sir Anthony Dominguez, if he's half as good as his couple outings, the bullpen's not going to blow 40 games this year.
Yeah, I'm still high on Connor Brogdon. He had moments last year. Tell you what, Sir Anthony Dominguez, I watched him throw live at the end of last season. He was 93, and you're like, oh my God, he's going to have to totally reinvent himself. And you look what he did in Clearwater and so far, and he's 96, 97, and you say, okay, they might have something here again, pounding the zone, strikes. The other day he had the 3 strikeouts, 14 pitches. I mean, it was impressive. So if he looks more like that guy, that changes everything. And you can say what you want about Brad Hand. He struggled last year, especially in Toronto. But this is a guy that has late inning experience. It's not like the velocity is completely gone. It's not like he's totally washed up. I mean, there's still stuff left in that arm. And Familia from the right side, again, a little bit erratic. These are guys that at times are probably going to make you want to rip your hair out, but there's still some upside there. And so while I don't think the Phillies are going to have a top 10 bullpen by any stretch of the imagination, I do think that there's enough there. And just the law of averages kind of playing a role here a little bit. They're due to kind of luck out on one of these guys or one of these guys really sticking, and they can miss bats, so if they can throw strikes consistently, there's plus stuff in that back end. And I think this bullpen will probably be middle of the road, which for this team is a market upgrade.
Bob, before I let you go, I want to ask you about one more pitcher. Aaron Nola has turned into a villain for some Philly fans. He used to be the opening day star. He was the only guy you could rely on, right? And now he's the one guy that nobody knows what to think of him from start to start. He's a different pitcher, it seems like.
Yeah, I think you said it right on there. I mean, even inning to inning last year, he looked like a Cy Young contender, and then the next inning he would fall apart. A lot of 2-strike hits, a lot of 2-strike extra base hits, damage, and you're seeing that again in a very limited sample this spring. And so you don't want to overreact to anything that you see in spring training. I mean, I could point to so many different cases where poor performance quickly turns to great performance once regular season starts and vice versa. But given what we saw last year, you do have to kind of wonder, hey, And to me, it all goes back to just having trust and command in your fastball. And it seems like that's still eluding him a little bit. And so right now, I assume that Ranger Suarez is not going to replicate his performance of a year ago. I don't know that you can trust Zach Wheeler to finish second in Cy Young voting this year. They need Aaron Nola to be better. And he's the biggest wild card of this entire thing, because if they get somebody that performs like a number 1 or number 2 starter, this Phillies team's really good. If he's a disaster, and when I say disaster, pitching more like a number 4 or number 5, they're pieces away still. So that's the one you really have to hold your breath on. And I can't tell you that you should feel better. Everyone wants to explain away Aaron Nola's struggles last year. It feels like every other week there was some deep dive into his analytics and his velo and spin rates. Part of it just to me kind of came back to like it was mental, like where I think he kind of lost faith. He had never struggled like that before. And hopefully he gets to hit the reset button here and is able to turn things around.
He is Bob Wankel, writes about the Phillies for Crossing Broad. Join us right here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Give him a follow on Twitter at Bob Wankel CB for all your Phillies coverage. Check out all his work over at Crossing Broad. Bob, appreciate you jumping on. Great insights today.
I'll talk to you soon, man. Thanks for having me.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM. We'll check the text board one more time at 609-403-0973, and we'll wrap up the show on the other side here on 97.3 ESPN.
There's only one place for live sports and sports talk in South Jersey. Oh, yeah! Your sports station is 97.3 ESPN.
The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and get you back on the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
It's time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. The plot thickens in college basketball as we get down to 8 teams by Friday night, and then by the end of the weekend, we'll be left with 4. In the NBA, the Nets have the second best odds to win it all, and the Heat are not far behind. These two teams face each other in Miami on Saturday in a possible playoff preview. And on Sunday, championship favorites, the Phoenix Suns, host the 76ers. Be sure to check the Caesars Sportsbook app for all the latest odds, boosts, and promos. Caesars Sportsbook. Your app is ready, Emperor. Download it.
Kenny Mayne here with news that Caesar actually prefers calling croutons baby toast. Interesting. Download the Caesars Sportsbook app now and sign up with promo code RadioEat. Bet $50 and new users get a $250 Uber Eats gift card.
Must be 21 and physically present in New Jersey. New customers with eligible promo code only. Real money wages only that have minimum amounts of minus 200. $250 gift card redemption code. Accepts a redeemed gift card will be sent via email within 72 hours. Uber gift card terms and conditions apply. See Caesar.com/promo for full term. Void where prohibited. Gambling problem? If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Driving happy with Febreze car.
You're driving home when, oh no, you hit the longest red light in town. What's this? You're smiling because your car smells amazing. You just installed a Febreze car vent clip. Ha ha! 5 weeks ago, with up to 40 days of consistent Febreze scent, those lights can stay red for as long as they'd like.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la. Parkview RV.
It's that time of year again. Wanderlust sets in, and you feel it in your bones. It's time to hit the road, but not before you hit Parkview RV with their incredible 2.5-acre expansion. 8 acres of the hottest names in recreational vehicles: Northern Light, Salem, Durango, Forest River, Columbus, Winnebago, Lance, Thor, and many more. And featuring the new A-Liner, the newest look in RVs, sleek, contemporary, and yours for just over $100 a month. That's right, just over $100 a month. With the low prices Parkview RV is famous for on an amazing selection of new and pre-owned motorhomes, fifth wheels, travel trailers, towables, truck campers, and pop-ups. The selection is unprecedented, and so are the savings at Parkview RV, the largest RV dealer on the peninsula and in the entire tri-state area. Spring is in the air, so check out Parkview RV, Route 13 in North Smyrna, across from Delaware's only rest area. Parkview RV, home of the great deal, based on 180 months and 5.99% APR.
Okay, so we got the chorizo dumplings, the cucumber empanadas.
Zara's food truck is popping off.
Come on, guys, let's pick it up, all right?
But if she doesn't find a new chef, her truck will be stuck.
Carl quit this morning, so Jessica, I'm going to need you on the fryer.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed, you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The winter of 2022 is officially over. Spring has arrived, and we can start enjoying longer days and warmer weather. Hi, Tom McAllister from McAllister the Service Company. While we cannot control the weather, we absolutely can guarantee that it's going to get hot. The very last thing you want to worry about is whether your air conditioning system is going to operate when it comes time to turn it on. Talk to the experts at McAllister about replacing that older, inefficient air conditioning system. We also offer Mitsubishi ductless systems for that room that never cooled properly, or are you just tired of those noisy window units? This is a perfect time to take advantage of 12 months of 0% financing, preseason discounts, and rebates offered by the state and the utilities. Talk to the experts at McAllister at 609-927-4122 or at mcservice.com for all of your air conditioning needs. McAllister, we cannot control the weather, but we can control your comfort.
At Wendy's, March is madness. With our breakfast Baconator, sausage, egg, and Swiss croissant, both made with fresh cracked eggs, or even a honey butter chicken biscuit. And we're just getting warmed up. Get 50% off the official breakfast of March Madness when you order through the Wendy's app. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
For a limited time at participating Wendy's via app offer only. Account registration required. No discount applies to taxes or fees. Not valid with any other offer.
Some people are easily moved.
Wasn't that just the saddest movie ever?
Whatever. Others, not so much.
Oh, look at the puppies!
Just dogs, but smaller, so what? But even those who aren't easily moved.
Look, your long-lost brother's been found.
Oh, hi, Mike. Can be moved by us. Yeah. We're that good.
Use Clark's Moving and Storage in Rio Grande for your next local or long-distance move. Visit Clark's Moving and Storage online at clarksmoving.net.
The uh-ohs are out there. Scratches, dents, unexpected natural events. But with Mako and their magic, your car is no longer tragic. So when life throws you uh-ohs, just say,
better get Mako.
And go to Mako.com to book your appointment today.
If you're ready to get back to work or just thinking about changing careers, 97.3 ESPN's Virtual Job Fair is the place to start. Just go to the 97.3 ESPN app and tap on the Virtual Job Fair to find exciting opportunities from
Maurice Piers in Wildwood,
Evolution Gaming in Atlantic City.
Peruse all our exhibitors and learn about opportunities just like you would at a live job fair. Take the first step to a brighter future. Visit 97.3 ESPN's Virtual Job Fair at 973ESPN.com and the 97.3 ESPN app.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Wrapping up the show, final segment today. 4 hours almost in the books here on 97.3 ESPN FM. 7 p.m., we got the NCAA tournament. March Madness begins tonight. If you missed my conversations, though, with Andrew DeCecco on Football at 4 or Julian Edlow from DraftKings, you can listen to the best of the Sports Bash next hour here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get to the text in just a minute at 609-403-0973. A couple things I want to hit on, though. A little news that came out while I was talking with Bob Wankel. So Jarvis Landry has fired his agent. Yes. According to multiple reports, Jarvis Landry has terminated his representation agreement with Clutch Sports. Now, I haven't seen if he's hiring a new agent yet or if he's going to represent himself, but I have to wonder, did Landry think he was getting a specific deal? Or did he get misled that he was going to have a certain market? Very interesting thing to keep an eye on, not just for the Eagles, but for any NFL team, because whenever a player fires their agent, something went wrong, either in a contract negotiation or in their, market value or money or something. You don't just fire an agent just because. That's a big deal. And I almost have to wonder, what happens to Jarvis Landry now? Is he going to reset his market? Does he maybe recall back teams himself? Does he hire new representation? A couple things to keep an eye on. Other report coming out is there are reports that Desean Watson is being strongly considered to being placed on the commissioner's exempt list because of the Browns and Watson's intent to play him this year. Goodell and the NFL is considering putting him on the commissioner's exempt list, even if all the civil suits are settled before the season. There's a possibility that in order for him to play, according to Rob Maaddi, Associated Press, that Desean Watson will have to go through hours of counseling and rehabilitation, and he will not, quote unquote, get a pass. So the Desean Watson thing is a little more complicated for the Cleveland Browns. All right, see a couple texts before we get out of here at 609-403-0973. A message coming in says, Josh, considering Robert Woods and him going to the Titans, who do you think is closer to a Super Bowl right now, the Titans or the Eagles? I would say it's the Titans. I don't even have to think about that. I think the Titans have a better football team right now, and they have a coach who I've seen do it before. Mike Vrabel has won games in the postseason. Mike Vrabel has won Super Bowls as a player. Mike Vrabel has frankly done a very good job down in Tennessee. So I think that the combination of who the coaching staff is and who the GM is and who the roster is, yeah, the Titans are closer than the Eagles are to a Super Bowl. And I think that was part of the decision for Woods. I think he wants to go to a team that puts him in a position to win. I don't think that's something that can be undersold. So definitely something to keep in mind. All right. Before I get out of here, I know there's a lot of days. I like to give you guys some picks, some things to look at. Now, I'm taking a couple picks and ideas from Julian Edlow when he was on the show earlier, combining it with some other things I've read and heard. So here we go. Here's what I like to win tonight. I like Gonzaga. I like Villanova. I like Arizona. That's the only three I can give you confidently. If I try to pick the Texas Tech Duke game, that's a lot of heart versus head. You know, my head thinks that Duke has more talent on their team. My heart wants Texas Tech to win. So I'm going to purposely stay away from that game in terms of wins and losses. Julian Edlow says he really likes Arkansas to cover the first half spread versus Gonzaga. Gonzaga is not a very good first half team. I like that. I also like Duke and Texas Tech to go under 136.5 in their game. So those are some of my thoughts on tonight's games. Of course, you can go check out the games over at FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Casino and Resort in Atlantic City. My friends over there. Must be 21 in order to gamble. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thanks, everybody, for all the texts today. What a wild show. A lot of stuff happening today. Thanks to Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad, Keith Smith from Spot Track, Andrew DeCecco live at the Penn State Pro Day from InsideTheBirds.com, and then Julian Edlow from DraftKings. I'll be back tomorrow for another busy 4 hours. Final day filling in for Mike Gill this week. And then Mike will be back on Monday here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Have a great night, everybody.
Looking for insider info, top football picks, and the latest game predictions?